split push going all
Not like
in.
this.
A matter of seconds. Try to ice. Oh, he's gonna go in. No, some only healing, keeping him alive. Cloud9, the turnaround, the backdoor play secures game number 2.
What a turnaround just when things were looking up for BTK. A Lord in there. You have the split push king, Basic, running through top lane with Cold World. And in the end, it was the auto attacks from Cold World able to put the finishing touches on the core.
Yeah, that was a tag team duo right there. Cold World jumping on the Basic train, man. I mean, and what a way to go. Right after they get the big picks, right after they take out best player, right after they have almost a guaranteed Lord, Basic and Cold World make the call happen.
Now, it's a little unfortunate for the Bloodthirsty Kings, right? That was an opportunity for them to wipe the slate clean, especially after losing game number 1. But with Cloud9 taking game number 2, that's 2 games in a row, which effectively means in order to tie up the series, BTK, they got to win 2, possibly straight. Right now, man, it's just looking a little hard, right? We got to see some glimmering hope for them, right? It wasn't a one-sided story. It was a 22-minute game, and that just showcased they have the capability to do it, but you got to watch out for Mr. Split Push.
Man, I know poor Zia's shoulders were broken during that game. He had a phenomenal game. Took a little bit of time to get into it, but eventually was just outputting that damage on the Cloud9. But man, when we talk about Cloud9 right now, just the entire package coming out, whether it's Nats on the Cho, basically being that sub-roam that they needed, and then that final play with the Rafaela, with Basic out there. Cold World doing such a great job of keeping his team topped up.
You know, it took a year or 2 for Basic to perfect it, but he's been doing it back to back this season. He's been pulling it off, and whether you love him or hate him, Basic has definitely stepped up his game this season right now. Another beautiful backdoor. This time he brings Cold World along with him, and it just feels like Cloud9 always has an answer right now, man. Whether it's early game, whether it's mid, whether it's late, whether they're behind or ahead, they are a team with answers in the land of Dawn right now.
Yeah, man, you got to look at the map. It always stings when you get hit by the backdoor play, and if any player is able to pull that off, it's definitely going to be Basic. A lot of engagement, though, from both sides, right? It wasn't the same story as game number 1. Game number 1, I feel like, was a little bit more of the draft on why BTK was not able to push through. But game number 2 is
in the land of Dawn right now.
Just the map, right? Rotating around.
Man, you got to look at the map. It always stings when you get hit by the backdoor play, and if any player is able to pull that off, it's definitely going to be Basic. A lot of engagement, though, from both sides, right? It wasn't the same story as game number 1.
Maybe not the greatest pick. We're really dipping into that Roger well at this point. And I have to wonder, is there not something better that we can maybe go with?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some things better that you can go with. I don't think just to keep it point blank period, the Roger, like you said when we started all of this, when we started today, the Roger has had some hard nerfs, right? The Roger has had some tough days. It's had better days, but right now it's having tough days. And there were picks open, right? There was the Noland open. There was some options open. And it feels like BTK is pigeonholing themselves into something that they shouldn't have to. So we're coming into, game 3, possible match point if C9 wins again. Morale just got hurt with a ruthless backdoor. It's just, there's a lot of things going on, and I think there's a lot of things that need to be fixed.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any team that is not really frazzled by being behind, by having the odds against them, it's going to be Zayn and the rest of BTK. However, I mean, that doesn't mean you're going to completely ignore the pressure and ignore kind of the strategy. And right now, I mean, that last game, I want to say, I mean, despite even with the Roger, it played its role. They were able to still get the pickoffs, especially that last fight. It just kind of comes into, for me, did that last fight go in BTK's direction because they didn't have the Raphael and Basic that were trying to split push, as we've talked about, as part of a plan that they always have for a lot of these fights? Every single time there's an engagement, every single time Cloud9 lose somebody, they take 2 back from BTK.
And that's a lot of questions that BTK will have to answer. So we're going to give them a little bit of time as we jump over to a short break, but don't go anywhere as we'll be right back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the NACT Grand Finals fall season here. It has been a very exciting 2 matches, maybe a little bit one-sided, maybe, but we did bring up some points earlier in the broadcast. Trex, take us through that first one and what the teams have been doing well or maybe not so well.
I mean, draft analysis says it all, and I said it in the beginning, and I don't mean to repeat myself, but You know, BTK can lose in the draft easily in these 7 games if it goes to 7 games at this point. And right now it feels like BTK is scrambling in the draft. And I'm not trying to hate, man. I'm not trying to say anything, but that's just what it looks like. And they need to figure something out. They need to find some answers. They need to push some boundaries down, because if the drafts continue this way, it is going to fall into C9's hands. We've seen the Roger get picked up twice now, and both times did not do that well. I mean, Mobazane 0-5-0 in the last game, and it just feels like C9 kind of has the answer every time, to the counter picks with the Aurora, to just so many things, making sure that Basic is always comfortable in the gold lane. It feels like they don't have to try that much, and BTK may be trying too hard.
Yeah, it's like putting all your eggs in one basket, especially on this Roger pickup. But honestly, with game number 2, I feel like there were still some things that went right for them. But again, that backdoor play, a little unfortunate. And now, as we move on over to strategy and execution, right? We talked about the winning conditions jumping into the series. And right now, Cloud9 is performing. They're able to pretty much keep Mobazane uncomfortable. I would say even in the draft, forcing out picks like that Roger. And then, a little bit of weird strategies with that YSS flexed into that gold lane. Just got to be a little bit more effective, right? If you're going to pull out a draft with an X Factor pick, you have to see it perform, because then if not, you're just giving up what you could have picked as possible meta, something like a Ruby in that gold lane.
And then we're moving on to the third I want to say point here, which would be team synergy. We have seen a much better, much more organized BTK here. However, there are still some of those little nuances that come out there. We've seen Shark get picked off, especially in the early game as well. When it comes to some of these pickoffs, Mobazane has been getting caught as well when it comes to a lot of these team fights. And it's not even really, I want to say, a synergy issue. It's when you're combining it with the strategy and all these other points coming from Cloud9, because they always seem to have an answer.
Yeah, normally I would say by game 3, player mental wouldn't be too big of a deal, right? But at this point, with the way that game 2 went, you gotta feel it. You gotta know that the pressure is now on. When a team like Cloud9 is just, even when you have the lead, they find a way to beat you. Even when you fight for 20 minutes long, they find a way to beat you. They give you pressure in the early game. Now, Cloud9 is, they're feeling good about themselves. Their morale is high. And BTK, on the other hand, is going to have to find a way to push past this. Look at it one game at a time. Yeah, they got us in the back door last time. This time, we got to come back, look at game 3, and hold strong.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough from us. After this break, we will continue on to game 3.
All right, guys, a short break as promised. Everything is quicker today, and we just had 2 matches. Now we're jumping into the 3rd game. Both teams have a lot on the line. Today we have Trex, Wheezy, and Private back with us for a trio cast.
Whew. Is it hot in here? It feels like the pressure is on for both of these teams.
Hey, I always say pressure bursts pipes or it makes diamonds, and right now it looks like a gold mine or a diamond mine for Cloud9, able to take 2 wins up against the Bloodthirsty Kings. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. I said game number 2 was a chance to clear that slate and even out the series, but now they're up to a game number 3, and we know how hard it is to come back if you lose 3 games in a row.
I mean, the possibilities are always endless in North America. The possibilities are always there, but that percentage for BTK is getting lower and lower right now, and there needs to be a turnaround now because it is do or die.
Yeah, like one member from a particular team needs to get on the edge of their seats. The viewers also should get on the edge of your seats because we have another giveaway on the screen. You see a QR code for you to scan to jump into the game and put that code in for 50 tournament chests to one of these Lightborn skins. Ooh, we've upgraded today. I don't know, what is Count Dracula, guys?
I believe that's the Alucard skin for him. But yeah, there's very limited skins there. 50 tournament chests out there. Did it get darker in here, or did we begin that with a little bit of shade coming from Liz?
Yeah, I know. I felt it too. But still, those Lightborn skins, I mean, that's the first time I've seen a giveaway with all Lightborn skins. I remember those are definitely something you want to grab, and it's not region locked, so make sure you guys scan that code. But man, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think the difference for game number 3, I think who needs to sit up. I think that
he definitely needs to sit up, and it's got my OCD going off. You know, it's like just sit up, bro, just sit up. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll check the cam soon.
Yeah, for sure. And some fun facts to light things up. We have Hoon on mid. His role is mid lane. His favorite hero is Gushin. Favorite player is also General, sticking to his roots. His hobby is watching a documentary. And his hometown is Sor, and his device is Red Magic 9S Pro.
Yeah, and as we were on the topic of Hoon there, we're going to see the matchup there coming out for Mark Cutie. Role mid, favorite hero Selena, which we haven't actually seen him play in this series, or not in this series, but even in NACT just yet. Favorite player, Mark Cutie. Looking in the mirror there. Javi is running. Ooh, another Chicago boy. Hometown from Chicago. And the device is an iPhone or an IP. What was it? An iPhone 5, I believe?
Oh, something like that.
iPhone 5. Ooh.
The original. I like to play on my iPod here.
Yeah, I mean, Mark Cutie is definitely a cutie, and he's been doing so well in the mid lane so far. Especially, I think both games, he has such an impact to the team fight. And if you guys wondering like if it's getting darker in my room, yeah, because it's light outside, so now the natural light is competing with my other lights, and it's dark in the day, but light is in my heart as both of these teams are doing well. It's just one of the team has an edge over each other. And surprisingly, draft is ready. So casters, take us into the draft.
Well, boys, we're here, and I think I want to say the collective right now is wondering, are we going to see maybe something a little bit different? Maybe take some picks away from the side of Cloud9. We start this very similar to game 1.
Yeah, the Phoveus has been a threat. We don't really see too many answers for it. We've seen the Hylos was a response back from BTK the last time we were in this position. So I wonder if they're going to go in for that again. I wonder if they even seen the Roger as a problem in their draft. I mean, effectively, the last game, right, there was a chance for them to actually win that out. But a couple of misplays in the end in the backdoor opportunity from Basic prevailed.
I mean, this is, as you said, very similar to game number 1. We see the Phoveus. I think BTK are the ones who are forced to switch things up until they find that magic composition, right? And yes, last game, they had some comeback potential, but even if they got that Lord, the game wasn't exactly in their hands just yet. They go for the Harith this time. They pick up the Gatot, give Zia something comfortable that we know works, right? It's not kind of risky like the Wanwan. It's not kind of risky like the YSS. So just comfort on the side of BTK right now. I got a feeling, though, we might just see that Nolan again taken up by best player here.
I do like this pickup from the side of BTK, especially because you've got the Gatakacha, which does help in that early game to offset some of those early big picks out there in the early game. One thing that kind of comes to mind is BTK. I was not a huge fan of the last draft from them, but they were still being mildly successful against Cloud9. And that's kind of the crazy thing to me when it comes to matching up both of these teams and how skilled BTK can be. Imagine taking that skill with how great they can be, I want to say, on the defense because their draft isn't so great. Imagine having a draft in their favor, how well that could work out for them as we're moving here into the second banning phase.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a shocker. I was right there with you. I didn't feel that they were going to be able to have such an impact with that drop, but here we were at 22 minutes in, right? And it was down to the inhibitor turrets and just a matter of that split push being the difference. And that showcases, even with picks that you don't think is going to work in their favor, just the mastery overall, the micro and the macro is what can make the difference. Now, the difference is definitely going to have to be made for this one because, like we said, this is game number 3. If their backs were ever on the wall, it's touching as close as possible right now. In BTK, they need to find some breathing room, and this could be an opportunity for that. You're not seeing the Roger picked up yet. We're seeing some great options on the table for their side, right? You have the Harith who can get up close and personal, do a lot of damage. You have the Gatot to be able to close the distance with the AOG. Then you also have the Aurora as well for some additional crowd control.
Yeah, the Aurora should work well. I like this Claude ban. I think next from BTK, we probably see the carry ban. On the side of C9, it's focusing on Mobazane more. We take out the Bane. Possibly, there's the carry ban. Possibly Nolan ban next just to focus down more. Or if they really just want to be like, let's see if you can play Nolan, they ban out the Roger here just to really, shove the dagger in a little bit deeper. But on that side, after whatever this last ban is, BTK, they need that jungler, right? They need an EXP laner still, unless they flex this Gatot over. What do we think some possible picks are private?
Well, the thing for me is that this focus onto Zane, this is something that we talked about before. It cannot just be the Zane show and ban him out, and that's the end of what BTK can put forward. The rest of the team, we're going to need to find some picks there. Potentially, I mean, depending on where this Gatakacha is going to be going, I'm assuming it's going to be picked up by Shark, which leaves open that XP lane. You still have Arlot, which kind of, I want to say, hasn't been used a lot here. Something we need to figure out a plan to go against Phoveus. We tried with Flied Horse, we tried Hylos in the first game. He was still able to out-rotate and really wasn't having the impact that they wanted to. So maybe something else that can kind of clear lane, that can kind of join in the fights very early. We'll see what we come up with. Yeah,
definitely going to have to find something, but it's very hard, right? We've seen a lot of players kind of be very effective with this Phoveus Trex. I feel like you may have an answer right there.
I don't think it's the Arlot. The Arlot has a rough time against the Phoveus, but I think the Gatot could maybe get flexed over to Fried Chicken, and they pick up something for Shark here. Maybe like a Grok. Grok could also be EXP, so either way, it could go both ways. They pick up the Valentina from Arcuti, needs a gold laner. Does he maybe just go for the Ruby here, and instead of picking the long range or something a bit more fighter-based?
Yeah, that's interesting having the Grok out there, because even if it does go into the XP lane, the passive from Grok, the more physical damage items you have, the more physical defense he has as well. So that could be potentially something that will work well. And I like the flexibility of this for them. It's going to come down to how well it's played, We have not seen a Paquito in a very long time coming up in the jungler, but it is something that I've harped on because Zane is so good on especially with that burst damage that can come out from Paquito. We'll see if it works well into this composition.
Yeah, I mean, it's an X Factor play again. I mean, you can just tell by the reactions every time Mobazane pulls out something in the jungle. It's definitely a sight to see. But again, this is game number 3 for BTK up against Cloud9 in the grand finals, and it's 2-0. So He definitely is going to want to be very aggressive. I mean, at least with the Paquito, right? You're able to kind of close the distance and also able to sustain yourself with some additional shielding. But it's going to be down to the execution, down to the wire. And I feel like BTK, even though it might not be a jungler you're used to seeing, it's great here because they have a pretty solid composition.
Yeah, but ladies and gentlemen, we are moving into game 3. It is do or die time for BTK to find a reply, to find an answer to Cloud9's dominance.
Okay, so taking a look at the draft, it does look like that Grok is going to be EXP lane. Wondering if he's going to, you mentioned it, Private. Wonder, does he go damage here? Does he pick up the Blade of Despair first item? Does he go all in? This is not a new hero to Chicken. He's comfortable with it. It also gives them some nice crowd control, some nice engage and disengage. Out of the 3 drafts that we've seen from BTK, this one is probably one of my favorites. It feels a bit more comfortable for everybody. Mobazane, I mean, yes, the Paquito is unheard of, but it does have an insane level 4 power spike. The damage is definitely there if they can capitalize on the laning phase.
And that's what we're going to be keeping a close eye on, right? The laning phase. How are they going to be able to effectively keep their side laners alive and also get these objectives? How are they going to be able to get into these turtles? Now, there's a lot of things working well for BTK's draft. You have the Aurora, right? The crowd control, especially this early. You have Shark able to close the distance and able to be the initiator for these setups. And speaking of setups, look at BTK. May be able to close the distance on the top side. That's a 4-2 engagement possibly on the way. There goes the CC for the taunt, and Zia securing the kill on Cold World.
Man, and Cold World, I mean, it felt a punishment there. 4 members of BTK going in, Mobazane very quickly, and that's the strength and the burst you have out of the Paquito.
Yeah, that's the BTK you want to see, right? This is the early game that they normally bring, and they do this early game gank onto the gold lane. They don't get the gold lane, but still finding Cold World kind of slows them down a bit, because on the Cho, we know Cold World wants to be aggressive. On Mark Cutie, on this Valentina, they want to be in your face. They want to stay on the opposite side of the river.
Yeah, and that's going to be huge for BTK, right? Leading the momentum for the early game, keeping Cloud9 behind as we are now seeing this turtle spawn in. Will they be able to take this objective? You are going to go ahead and see right now everybody getting ready for the fight.
Cold World trying to be a nuisance here. They're going to see if they're going to be able to maybe punish him before this turtle comes up. Starting to gather some positions. Great aside from Cold World, but it does look like they're not going to really focus. Fried Chicken taking some heavy damage.
Yeah, he's going to get a G Kondo to the face from Cold World. Now going to go back to safety. Cloud9 in a great position, zoning out the Bloodthirsty Kings from this turtle. Chicken finding an early grave. Nact able to slam down with the demonic force to shut him down. And you are going to see best player claim the turtle.
You know, I feel like
Chicken
once
just had to throw that wall in to kind of try to reset the turtle. Unfortunately, not only did it not reset the turtle, but it put him in harm's way, so they got a kill along with it.
I feel like once Mobazane leaves that, right, the rest of the team should have just backed off, not even gone for that turtle. But they go for it. They lose 1 member for it. It's now 1-1. We're back to ground zero. Cloud9 with a little bit of an advantage. But now we're already seeing, I mean, Cold World just in their face nonstop. Do they let him do this, or do they just ignore him?
I mean, there's not really much they can do if they can't close the distance. The mobility is just what makes Cho such a threat. We've seen him prioritize a lot this NACT. I mean, look at that. The G Kondo for the knock. Wild Tart play, though. Shark able to find Cold World, able to punish best player, finding Fried Chicken. That's going to be a 1-for-1 trade for both sides. But Nact winning the heart of the battle with the demonic force, forcing Mobazane to the tier 3 turret.
A much cleaner game, but you still see Cloud9 able to answer back every single death with a kill of their own.
Yeah, Nats 1-0-1 now. Back ahead in these rotations. Look at the top side.
Ooh, the shadow kill does connect, but stacking together with Sharks, not really going to deal much damage.
Yeah,
and with that, he's going to have to disengage. And a big pressure now starting to mount for both of them. Cold World just has so much vision all around the map. Mobazane can't go anywhere without the side of Cloud9 knowing.
Yeah, so, I mean, who's really got the lead right now, bro? Like, if Cloud9, does BTK have this breaking point? Like, first, do they get a big power spike around third turtle, first lord, do they kind of need to wait it out here?
I mean, that's a good question. I think it works for Zia, though. You got to look at where the kills go, too. I mean, the marksman technically got a kill for the Bloodthirsty Kings, which is going to kind of help him scale as we progress to the mid game. But right now, another turtle in play, and you're looking at Cloud9 trying to get that position, trying to wrap around for the setup. But this time, the full 5-man of BTK for the denial. There goes a little bit of crowd control onto Cold World. Watch Shadow comes out, Luigi Shadow kill as well. But BTK stacked together to share the damage. But there comes Nact like a train, wrecking the Bloodthirsty Kings with the demonic force. Very low. Hoon able to take down Nact on that aggressive play and will force him out the turtle pit.
Ooh, I do like that they all collectively decided that they were going to try to go ahead and chase, not just half of them on the turtle, but now it's kind of leaving it open. You see Cold World trying to find himself an angle.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, Cloud9 able to back off a bit, able to disengage from the possible fight. Mobazane even starting to do some more damage. Zia starting to do some more damage.
Ooh, not going to lead to anything though. Able to get out with a sliver of HP.
Yeah, and right now I want to say a much better, much smoother game for BTK. Don't quite have the gold lead just yet, but they have the vision, even with Cold World basically dancing around.
Ooh, Flicker wild charge play, but Basic outmaneuvers the 2v1 and Cold World joins the party.
Man, and just like that, and Basic, we've talked about it before, love him, hate him, he has improved so much this season.
Yeah, I mean, Basic at this point has just been able to dodge everything that BTK tries to bring at him. He finds the backdoor answers. And BTK, they have the damage like Mobazane, deathless right now. He just needs to actually get that first kill. He needs to get that second kill. He needs to be able to connect with his team.
Speaking of connecting, 3v1 on the bot side, but Zane able to delay the push for the tier 3 turret.
Yeah, and I mean, he right there, he was trying to get the damage onto Basic, kind of ignored the minions a little bit there, but now we have a 3v1 under the tower for Fly Chicken.
All right, nothing going to happen major. Best player farming at top side. Taking a look at the gold. Cloud9 getting away, but let's take a look at the items. Best player has Hunter Strike, Malefic Roar, Zane on the other side. Has Hunter Strike working on the next one. Maybe going into Endless Battle here. Get some true damage off. On terms of tanks, Cold World up against Shark. Cold World, I mean, is kind of taking a more roundabout route here. Has taken 2 deaths, is a little bit slow to the party, but still, just that alone, the fact that it doesn't have a full item complete, but is still in their face so much, speaks volumes.
Speaking of volumes, look at the split push on the top side. Basic able to take a turret for Cloud9 and a Spear of Destruction. Decides not to go in, and Mobazane and BTK will take the turtle.
Yeah, they get the objective, but man, already starting to create the seeds of that threat up at the top with Moscow Basic there. We saw from the last game.
Ooh, Nact taking some heavy hits right there. Will be able to get back to safety. Shark trying to join the battle with the AOG, not gonna connect.
Yeah, but at least does kind of create space for his team so that Cold World doesn't try to force down another big response pick. Zia also now getting some offlane towers. So BTK running smoothly right now. Even though they're behind in gold, they're winning out on turtles. They're able to at least keep up in these fights right now. And their composition is only going to get stronger as this game moves forward.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing for me right now is that they were able to kind of hold the early game. They don't really have to lean so hard into the late game because they're holding their own right now. And a much better draft, a much more comfortable BTK. But man, you can't say enough about Cloud9 when it comes to some of these interceptions. When it comes to kind of getting picked off, there's always a reply coming out.
And speaking of replies, Chicken on the top side, numbers not in his favor. And Cloud9 quickly pursuing. There goes the wild charge. A last second save. Will be able to go back. Nat's not able to close the distance. And Chicken able to sustain himself.
I'm not going to lie. Discipline coming from Basic. I expected him to go forward into there.
Speaking of forward, the way the Dragon and the Force combination, Zane able to outlive 2 ultimates, and back to the base he goes.
I think at this point the Aurora pick is it could be the big trade pick as these games move forward. If BTK is able to win this game, that Aurora, whatever side it's on, has been detrimental to how these teams can play it out. Hoon has been able to pull off some big saves, been able to output damage the same way that Mark Cutie was doing it before.
Yeah, the name of the game is CC here, especially when it comes to some of these like frontal assaults coming from both of the opponents here. They don't really have a backline dive. Ooh, comes in with a kick.
Yeah, both sides trying to set up for this Lord. Is still surprisingly 10 minutes in, 3-3 on the scoreboard. Definitely playing for these objectives, but with this objective on the table, who will be able to turn it in their favor?
I mean, I don't know. With right now, BTK doesn't want to try to play slow around the Lord. They always seem to want to rush it. Let's see if they can pull it off.
Yeah, Cobrone taking some damage, able to sidestep the wild charge from Chicken. A little premature right there, and now buys Cloud9 a little bit of room in the Lord pit.
Yeah, and the Lord reset here. Both teams are looking, I want to say Cloud9 a little bit more comfortable in there, looking to try to start a fight here. Goes in!
With the quad shadow, Ouija shadow kill as well. Not going to deal the final touches on to Shark. That's going to be a lot of utility baited out. And that'll buy BTK some time for that Lord push from Cloud9.
I mean, Lord's still up, right? Lord's still sitting. It's still first Lord. Both teams taking their time. A little bit of a dance going. Both junglers going back to get buffs. Best player's going to need the purple. Another big Frigid Glacier comes out, so that's 1-0 down. But look at Zane. I mean, we question the Bakito, but the damage threat is definitely there.
Yeah, but look at Basic on the bot side.
Ooh, yeah, he's trying to get that split push in while the team is fighting out here.
Yeah, you're going to see the demonic force drop down. Mobazane able to claim the Lord for the Bloodthirsty Kings, and Basic yet to find a turret for the trade-off. There goes the Luigi Shadow kill and the quad shadow. Best player trying to go back to safety, but going a little bit to the wrong direction. He should be okay, though. He should have the quad shadow in time. Basic will take the tier 2 on the bot side.
Was it worth it, though, right? Like, do we think the tower was worth the Lord? Depending on what BTK gets here, that's when that question will be answered.
Yeah, and this is kind of something I brought up before about some of the early games from Basic. It's like, yes, the split push can be viable, but is it always viable when they probably could have used him for some of those fights?
Yeah, and right now you are seeing a great push from BTK. With that Lord on their side, we'll be able to maintain the pressure for the advantage at the 11-minute mark.
I mean, so far it's been viable, right? Like, so far it has worked, but BTK needs to take advantage of that, right? They need to know what's happening, and that's when they rush the Lord, which is what we saw last time in this past Lord. So maybe that's the real answer. And if they can time those moments right, then they turn it into not being viable, right?
Yeah, and that's the biggest point there when it comes to not being viable. But, I mean, they're doing such a great job here right now. Still kind of hanging behind when it comes to the gold lead, but the macro is on their side.
And speaking of macro and micro, both sides are going to be fighting out possibly in the mid lane. A lot of utility wasted right there, but here goes the engagement we were looking for. Zia able to find Nact in the heart of the battle. Who finds Cold World? 2 members dropping for Cloud9. Maybe more with the Ouija Shadow kill, but Mobazane will take down best player, but not before he finds Chicken. Basic able to respond back. Will take down Shark. That's going to be a 3-2 trade. There goes the immune on a Basic. Need to get away. Back to safety. Zane will not follow through with the chase. Both sides very low. And a spear disruption almost down the middle.
We were talking about needles through threads earlier. That was a needle through a thread, Private.
Yeah, they're a collective sigh from the rest of BTK as that just whiffs just narrowly in between all of them. Because I want to say Basic would have been a huge factor there. Probably would have been able to take at least 2 of them down.
I mean, knowing Basic, he would have gone for it, right?
Yeah. You know, Hoon's still laying down. I would have thought he would have stood up by now. But right now, BTK, they're providing a lot more pressure than what we've seen, at least in Game 1. Game 2, it was building up, but Game 3, we're starting to see it make a difference.
And, you know, best player just locked in another item. He's 3-1-1. We're starting to see that damage start to really work out for best player. He just got a couple kills. Yes, the big trade happens, but it is starting to happen. The pressure into the backside is becoming worrisome for BTK. And even though BTK does seem to be winning out, at least getting the extra kill in these fights, there is still a lot of threat, and they have to play correctly.
And right now, Cold World doing a great job trying to bait out abilities going into some of these bushes. The rest of BTK looking to go ahead and start on this objective.
Yeah, and I mean, the difference with this one, though, is you are going to see Basic possibly for this engagement, or is he going to go in for the split push again? Last time he did it, he was able to take a tier 2.
Yeah, I mean, so at this point they dance, and for the first time in several games, we're seeing the dances be a little bit slower, right? They're playing more around the Lord. They know they need control. Take a look at that bot lane, but wait, conceal play.
Yeah, they saw Shark very low. They decide to engage. Wild Charge connecting from Fried Chicken. Only going to knock up Basic, though. He will respond back, taking down Chicken. Best player finding Mobazane. The turtle play with the Luigi Shadow Kill. AOG. Shark trying to get away. The way the Dragon stopping Zia in his tracks. Nact able to find Zia, able to find Cold World. Nact getting the double. Find Shark, and Basic will find Zia. A full wipeout. Cloud9 able to sustain themselves again. Takes down the Bloodthirsty Kings.
16 seconds left on Fried Chicken. They might be able to push this.
Hey, you wanted Basic in the fight? Well, now he's in the fight, and he's making things work.
Yeah, and right now, looking to try and secure a game number 3. Flawless series so far for Cloud9 and BTK, yet to find an answer.
Victory!
What an amazing turnaround. This is what man, yeah, Trex absolutely hit the nail on the head there. Basic joins the fight, online there, and absolutely cleans up there to be able to turn it around. And just like that, with 15 seconds left on the death timers, Cloud9 very quickly, very decisively able to get their third game.
I mean, they found that moment. They knew it was coming. The damage was getting more and more with best players, getting more and more with basic. And once they saw the moment, they claimed it and just turned it into a roll, man. I mean, in a matter of seconds, everyone on the side of BTK is gone. And like I said, taking a look at these items, best player picks up that BOD, right? And that's when the damage, I mean, that Uji Shadow Kill was on, I think, 3 or 4 members, and it was still chunking them all down just low enough that all Basic had to do was throw out the Spirit of Destruction, and it was a game.
Yeah, and a well-deserved victory for the side of Cloud9. A little bit of a punish from BTK's push last second, and some great execution for a secure of game number 3. And this is going to put BTK in a very hard situation because right now, effectively, they have to win 4 games in a row.
Yeah, exactly. I want to repeat that. They have to win. Have to win. There is no more options for them right here, and they have yet to be able to find an answer. Cloud9, when it comes to the draft, when it comes to knowing their power spikes, when it comes to having that pressure all over the map.
Yeah, I mean, what's the magic answer right now? Taking a look at these replays, BTK start off game good. They get first blood, then Shark goes down, and they're trading blow for blow here, right? And I think this is kind of the story between these two teams. They're willing to go blow for blow. They're willing to take this. We're 2-2 right here, 5 minutes in. And I mean, Turtles get traded. BTK stays out on top. Even if they're hanging behind in gold, they're still controlling map pressure. They're controlling lanes. They're controlling objectives. But there's one big factor, and that is C9 finds the game-winning moments. Time and time again, they're able to find that one spot, that one thing. Their eyes are always on the trophy. And this is that last fight. Watch for the Uji Shadow Kill that ends up coming in. 3 of them are together. He takes out Mobazane. 4 of them are together. And the damage is just huge onto all of them. Basic then flickers in, and by then it's a wrap. And those are those small moments there. Even if BTK can go back and forth, it's not enough right now.
Yeah, and I don't even know where you go from here. BTK has yet to be able to find those answers. Maybe it kind of comes down to the point where Mobazane, I want to say it was a successful pick for him, but a lot of those early kills did not go to Mobazane. I believe some of them actually went on to Zia, and maybe when you have it more organized, where Paquito is a little bit more fed by the mid game, by that late game, he's able to kind of get some of those one shots. He might possibly be able to be that force he needs to be, and I'm wondering if maybe that kind of came into play.
Yeah, it's kind of hard, right? I mean, you're just seeing a lot of things go right for Cloud9 right now. Even when it looks like BTK is in the lead for the match, a couple of mistakes, and they're right back to square one up against Cloud9. And now, with their backs against the wall, this is the first time we've ever really seen these two teams not go, bar for bar. Usually in the grand finals, we see it's 1 win, then 1 loss, then 1 win, then 1 loss. But this is the first time ever that we get to see them on the back foot, BTK on the back foot with 3-0. But it's not over yet. I mean, definitely they have to find that needle in the haystack. And hey, we got to see that needle thrown with that Spear of Destruction, and it didn't hit anybody. So if they have those odds, maybe they can pull it off just yet. But it's definitely going to be the biggest challenge that BTK has ever faced.
You know, there's an old Disney movie called Brink, old cult classic, man. And there's a line in that movie, and it seems super simple, but they just say, just do better, do better. And sometimes I think it just comes down to because right now it just feels like C9 is doing better. Like in gameplay, in draft, across the map, they seem like the team to win this. From the start, we came into this day with some clear objectives for BTK to turn this around, and they haven't been able to do it. Even when it feels like it's so close in BTK's grasp, they just can't pull it off.
Yeah, and here we're going to go ahead and see just a little bit of a change up when it comes to the bans here. This is game points. I'll go ahead and repeat that out. Game point for BTK. They need to get this victory over Cloud9, who has come and they have performed.
Yeah, I mean, match point, like you said, it's going to be very hard to kind of pull this one off. And I wonder, it's like, yeah, the draft wasn't something we traditionally see, but I mean, there was a lot of moments in that game where BTK had the advantage. So I think it's even boiling down to what's actually going on in the game, and not just specifically in the draft, but there are some things that have yet to find answers to. The phobias, for example, we got to see Nas on this several times, and we haven't really got to see Chicken with a good response to go against it. And, you know, they're letting them take it, which is a little interesting. On top of that, there goes the phobias again. And every time they pick it, they've won.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I think it's sitting at, 100% win rate at this point.
Yeah.
It feels comfortable. And speaking of that, it's like, you know, throughout the season, Nats has been good. He's played a good part, but I feel like the team is playing. I mean, I feel like every time we see C9 play, they're playing better and better and better and better. Nats now has been so huge in these past 3 games, from the Cho to the Phobius. He's been a pivotal member in the team. Marcuti as well gets the Aurora, which we just know how that's been doing. Cole World plays the Cho last game. I mean, it's just all of them, man. Basic, best player. C9 are definitely monsters right now.
Yeah, it's just amazing to see how much that these players have grown in North America. Like we talked about when it came to some of the first NACTs. Even Cole World, who used to be, I believe, the marksman for The Simpsons at one point. He's been a part of some of the top teams in North America, finally now shining through with Cloud9. Ooh, BTK gonna go ahead, pick up that Moskov, take it out of the hands of Basic.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting. I mean, BTK, they're definitely focusing on getting Zane his jungle up front, right? They're going to pick up that Julian, and effectively when Zane's on the Julian, they do win a little bit more often as compared to the YSS and the Bakito. So we'll have to see how that kind of works in their favor. But with this Moskov, I mean, they have some great late game damage. They have great split push potential, and they also can traverse across the map to join those engagements with the Spear of Destruction. So it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes from here. Ban's coming into second phase, targeting down on Deshart. Tigreal taken out. Maybe a Grok ban next. Maybe a Cho ban. Really just focus down on a Shark. Definitely could be clean. On the side of BTK, we just probably clawed last here. Just try to zone down on a basic. You took the moss off, the hair's gone. If the claw's gone, you really kind of limit down. But even basic, he showed depth, man. He showed that he has plenty of options and plenty of play styles.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, you were talking about maybe they're going to take Claude off of here. Cho's already out of the mix by BTK there, so we don't have to really worry about seeing that. The one thing, though, I'm kind of wondering is what we've had a problem with when it comes to facing this Aurora is getting behind the lines. You can't just run straight through and expect to make it through that much CC. Not just that, we talked about it too, Nats is... dare I say, disgusting on this Phobius. Phobius itself is already one of those top tier pickups, especially when it comes to the team fights. But then put it in the hands of Nats, who's able to rotate early, who gets in there very quickly. That front line of BTK is going to be a problem. They're going to need to find a way to get to the back without having to go through these two.
And they're going to take out the Khalid as well to finish their last ban for the side of Cloud9 and make it a little bit more effective with this Phoveus and not really have too much of a threat. I mean, you're kind of getting limited on these XP options, right? I mean, technically the Edith is still out there, could be flexed. I mean, you could even pull out the Ruby, to be honest with you, and still at least have some more crowd control. But BTK, you gotta look at their draft and you gotta figure out, well, what did you take when allowing this Phoveus to go for a effectively the fourth or third time we've seen the Phoveus in Cloud9's favor. So that you get the Julian. We know Zane, he's great on the Julian. He's very effective. And I mean, last time we've seen the Bakito, we've seen the YSS. This time we get to see something that's a little bit more staple meta. And I think that's the difference that BTK is trying to make with this statement, right? They're going to try and put him on something he's a little bit more comfortable on, something that's a little bit more used in the pro scenes to make them have a little bit of that difference for the edge on C9.
Basic gets this carry, though, which we saw how well it worked last time. This time there's no Cho to really, like, capitalize on the speedy light wheel. There's no big knock-up CC, but my guess is Cold World gets something similar to that. Something that can buy Basic enough time to just shred anybody down in, you know, a half a second. So on the other side, BTK still needing EXP lane in Rome.
Yeah, you nailed it on the head when it comes to like they don't have the Cho there, but they still have a large amount of CC that Mark Yudi can output out there as well. And then it comes to the point that you have that front line with the Phoveus, with the damage that can come out from the Nolan. So maybe you don't even need to just sit there. You can just be like the person who gets those that finishes the job, so to speak. Cold World gonna go ahead, get on this Lolita, as on the side of BTK, we scoop up the Ruby and the Edith.
The Lolita is a little interesting because, I mean, with the Numeon Blast, you technically can get knocked up with the Earth Shatter, with Ruby, with all those hooks and the crowd control chain combos that she provides. It will be a little bit tougher for Cold World to kind of pull that off, but we'll see how that steps in. Now, when I'm looking at Cloud9, they have some great early game pressure, right? You have not only the Nolan, we've seen how effective best player is, especially with these assassins. You have the Phoveus, who's usually top of the tier inside of the XP lane, but he's going up against Chicken, who is going on that comfort pick Edith. So we'll have to see how this plays out.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are at it. Game point for Cloud9. BTK scrounging for an answer, for a reply, something that can get them back into the series. This is Game 4 of the NACT Fall Season Grand Finals.
Game 4, match point. Mobazane finally gets the Julian, finally has something a little more comfortable, I think, in the hands of him. Will it be enough? You know, you mentioned the Lolita Wheezy, and I kind of like it. Like, yes, the Numeon Blast is going to be hard to hit, but also you get this Bulwark to deal with Zia. You get this Bulwark to deal with the primal wrath from Fried Chicken. You just have some answers, right? And not only that, Cold World's known, and Cloud9 is known for attacking from angles, catching a team off guard. And if Cold World can kind of sit in a bush and wait for the right time for that Numeon Blast, it could definitely be huge, paired up with the Frigid Glacier, paired up with Nats, paired up with the rest of the team.
And we're going to be watching out for that, especially when this first turtle spawns in, to see how both sides decide to engage. I mean, even Zane on the Julian, right? Technically, it's an early game jungler. I mean, he can be very effective. Doesn't even traditionally have a true ultimate, but able to enhance his skills entirely to add more to his kit.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to a lot of the early game that can really benefit them. Cold World actually taking a lot of damage, while Mobazane inside the enemy's jungle here, trying to refuse some of that farm to the side of Cloud9.
Yeah, so now at this point, Cloud9, I mean, they don't have to rush this, right? They have decent late game potential with Basic. Best player's going to scale, and there goes a big fracture, already putting fear into BTK, forcing them a little bit out bay. We need to see that same type of aggression coming from BTK in the next minute or so to at least put some pressure on either off lanes, mid. Someone has to feel it.
Yeah, and I mean, we need to see how Zane kind of plays to his objective. You've seen some early rotations. Look at him. He's already on this turtle. But Cloud9, they're grouped up, looking like they're going to look for a possible counterplay.
Yeah, they're definitely wanting to catch Shark or somebody rotating through that mid-L bush before this objective happens. And it's been the name of the game for Cloud9. They have been so great at setting up these objective fights by finding these pickoffs, by finding these kills onto BTK.
And so Turtle goes over to Mobazane. BTK feeling confident, feeling comfy. They take a gold lead, which in previous games, even when they got a Turtle or so, it didn't translate to a huge gold lead. Normally, Cloud9 did very well at kind of just outmaneuvering them on the map to make sure they stayed a little ahead in farm. So BTK with a nice advantage right now.
Yeah, and you got to ask the question, what was Cloud9 doing when allowing BTK to take this turtle? I mean, they didn't technically find a trade-off. They didn't get a kill. They didn't chunk into any of the turrets across the map. And so pretty much it was a free turtle to the side of the Bloodthirsty Kings. And now a little bit of a punish on the bot side. Cold World taken down to about 75% HP, but able to sustain himself.
Well, when it comes to the question of what they were doing, I want to say that they just didn't have vision. They didn't know where they were, and they don't like this early fight. They aren't trying to take those 50-50. They're looking for guaranteed fight wins, and they're going to be looking for a little bit of the power spikes. They've been so good at knowing when those spikes come, knowing what fights they can take, and kind of backing off from the fights that they may or less, maybe not too confident in.
And so at this point, when does the balloon pop, right? When does the ceasefire end? When does somebody finally make the move? Cold World can't be as aggressive as he was, you know, on other heroes. He's on the Lolita right now. He has to almost play either more ambush or response, right? Try to time that Numenon Blast at the perfect time. So I feel like Cloud9, it's one of the reasons why they didn't go for that, you know, didn't try to force that first turtle. It's one of the reasons why they're kind of playing more on their side of the map. They kind of want BTK to come to them. So does BTK, you know, bite the bait? Do they win out if they go for the engage? Or do both teams just kind of play this waiting game?
Yeah, and right now we're going to kind of see how this plays out. I mean, without throwing a punch out first, especially allowing that turtle to walk to the side of BTK, not finding a trade-off, you can only do that for so long, especially against a team like BTK who thrives on taking these early game objectives. And right now you're seeing the next turtle spawn in and Chicken already pulling the aggro, Shark and Hoon getting in position, and Mopazane possibly following up after this jungle rotation.
Yeah, he is. They're vying for a position right now, looking for an angle. You see best player still keeping vision. Nact doing a great job playing this front line.
Here's the front line. Hoon able to take down Cold World. No Numenon Blast for Cloud9. Best player may be next. Retribution comes out from Zane, though, trying to stop best player. Zia will find Basic. You're going to see Fried Chicken joining the party. Demonic Course. There's that Phobius we've been talking about, though. Chicken very low. Marcuti able to shut him down. That is going to be a 1-for-1 trade, but Mobazane does not have the Retribution since he used it on best player.
Yeah, that hurt right there. Just going for Nats right there, and this man is dunking and dunking. There's two of you on him, but you're not able to get the kill, and then they kill one of yours. That is moral breaking.
Not just that, but I want to say they kind of did very well in that fight. Were able to find 2 kills there, but end up losing the objective. They have to push back because of that Retribution. Not the play you want to make at the end, an objective is on the line.
Yeah, but Zia able to take the turret on the bot side, so there are some answers still working in BTK's favor, effectively finding a trade for that turtle. I mean, they have a turtle of their own, so it's not the hardest loss. I would still say BTK is still in a good position. They haven't lost a turret so far.
And Mobazane does have Bloodwings in. For the first time, I think, in every game, he's actually a little bit ahead in gold. Is Clear is able to keep up, if not outdo best player, which is going to be important. He's going to be a big damage dealer. He needs to be able to keep up in levels to actually fight for this third turtle in First Lord. And BTK in a position now where they can kind of dance a little bit. And I really like Shark on this Ruby pick. I think it's another one of the things that is stopping Cloud9 from being so aggressive. There is this possible threat that if you engage too much and you get locked up too long, you're going down.
Yeah, and we have a little bit of a flank play here. 48 seconds left for this turtle, and you can see BTK starting to set up a lot more comfortable on the map than they have been in the past. Well, at least in the past few games of this series, they're always there, kind of prominent when it comes to these objectives. Now you can see them pushing towers, so they're able to kind of get that map control.
Yeah, and again, Cloud9 not finding a trade from losing that turret on the top side. You're seeing them kind of putting some heavy focus into the mid-river, but BTK quick to respond back and doing a great job on maintaining the pace for this match.
Zia also, having a very clean game right now, but he might not be having one.
That's a little bit of that caster curse right there. Best player able to find Zia Shark on the conceal play out.
All right, I'm just going to stop talking now. No players' names are coming out of my mouth.
Dang you, Trex. Cost Zia. Mobazane able to go ahead, find himself that turtle, though. So they are able to kind of match it up with something, still maintaining a slight gold lead. I want to say this is the first gold lead that BTK has had this entire series.
A little unfortunate, though, as Cloud9, Basic, doing a great job on trying to equalize this economy, is going to be able to take that tier 3 on the bot side. There goes the retro play, though, from Zane onto best player. Not going to really be able to stop him, though, and he's going to be able to defend the tier 2 turret.
RQD also takes a nice chunk of damage. Honestly, like, it still feels very down the line. BTK up in towers, but I'm wondering, once again, when does the balloon pop, right? When does the team just go all in? Or is this going to get dragged out into First Lord until both teams are forced to go all in and make that big 5v5 happen? Taking a look at the items, back to Zia. I'm sorry, but I got to mention you. You almost got your DHS in. It's almost the Holy Trinity, but Numion Blast does miss out. BTK able to disengage. But yeah, right now, Zia might actually, I wasn't able to check basics, but I think he might be ahead of basic right now.
Yeah, and I want to say that they're doing such a good job of kind of angling, keeping the pressure on different sides. You can see Zane off by himself. The rest of the team kind of split up very well to make sure that they're maintaining the pressure on the rest of these lanes. But the big engagement, not too much. Shark does kind of ward it off. But I want to say the big engagements, the big call will be when we open up these mid towers, when we really open up that jungle for the opposite team.
Well, you know, Trex, he's raising the question, when does the balloon pop? And I'm definitely thinking that balloon is going to be basic, right? I mean, he's on this carry. The later this goes, the more core items he'll be able to stack up, and effectively the harder he's going to be able to hit. So BTK definitely wanted to continue putting on this pressure, but they're doing a really great job so far. We got to see how they kind of play into this Lord, right? If they can take this Lord, then effectively they should be able to take that tier 3 turret in the mid lane. They're going to start the engagement nice and early. The knock-up on the Cold World. There goes Internal Guardian dropping down as well, but he's able to sustain himself, and now that's going to be a couple of utility wasted for the side of Bloodthirsty Kings, and the Lord still intact.
That's the point, is you wasted so many utilities to kind of go on a Cold World, don't get the kill, and now you have none of your ultimates left for this objective.
Oh.
They go in. There goes a flicker play, though. A little premature. Numion Blast only going to stun one. That's Chicken. Caught in his tracks. And that's a good read from the Bloodthirsty Kings to create that separation, baiting out some of Cloud9's utility and effectively winning over this Lord.
I'm telling you, this Ruby pick on Shark, man, it is doing the job. And not only that, Zia's having a good game. Overall, the team, and maybe it's the Julian too. Maybe it's Zane finally getting on the Julian, not having to pick up a Paquito. But either way, BTK just feels like a slightly different machine in this game. They feel more comfortable. They feel the ability to dance. They feel the ability to move. And it just seems like a lot of these fights are going into their hands easier than usual.
Yeah, a lot easier than usual. They're starting to put the pressure onto all of the lanes. Lord pushing at bottom. Hoon finds himself a tower. And the split. Look at the split right now between the team. Zane's up by himself over there, able to get those split push. And I was actually worried about the split push coming from best player here. We've seen it before on the Nolan. He's able to create that pressure to where BTK can't answer these fights for like 10 seconds more, or the side of Cloud9 is going to be able to kind of find those angles.
And speaking of angles, able to connect with I'm Offended Flame. Zane finding Cold World. No Numion Blast for Cloud9. BTK looking to punish Zia. Joining the party finds Nact. There's going to be 2 members falling for Cloud9, and BTK not losing a single member.
And even there, we see Nats come in, tries to use a demonic force, gets stopped by Shark just for enough time for the team to burst him down. Cloud9 has to be careful about how they take these fights.
They're going to go in. There you see the Pride of Ice be activated over there by Marcuti. A little bit of a window for opportunity, and they're going to take it. Look at the base crystal minions quickly dropping. Cloud9 members starting to spawn in. Nats now joining the party. They don't have minions in range for the base crystal, and BTK will disengage.
Ooh, I mean, you live to fight another day. This game is still firmly in BTK's favor right now. A 7K gold lead for them. Only one more high ground left for the side of Cloud9. A very different game than we've seen from the first three.
Yeah, very different, very different game. 7,000 gold lead for BTK. Even in the past, when they were winning out in fights, they were normally behind in gold, but this time it is completely in their hands. And they have some picks that are actually countering Cloud9 this time. They have some picks that are actually answers. Even Marcuti, those Frigid Glaciers aren't as important, right? Because the rest of the team can't dive in on top of BTK when he lands them. Taking a look at the items, Mobazane almost completely stacked out. He has a 2K gold lead, a little over a 2K gold lead over Best Player right now. Luckily, Best Player has hit level 15, so he can at least retry along with the best of them, but it's not going to be easy because he has to get on a Noland. It's not a Hayabusa where you can just, quad shadow in. He has to get pretty up close and personal, look for that fracture play, look for that steal.
Yeah, and it's not going to be the easiest setup for Cold World as well. I mean, we haven't really get to see too many of those Numeon blasts hit the mark. I mean, a couple of times we may catch Chicken, may catch Shark out of position, but not finding the setups that Cloud9 can make the most of. Speaking of setups, Nat's forced to join the battle, taken down by Hoon. One member falling for Cloud9, which will give BTK the advantage for this Lord play. But Best Player, Marcuti, Cold World, Basic, they're not going to let it go for free. They're going to continue to engage. There goes a big Numeon blast. That's a Foon. Best Player finding Zia. That's going to be another kill. Mobazane able to find one as well. Zia will fall. The ADC no longer standing for BTK. Hoon able to find Best Player. Zane finding Basic. Retribution in BTK's favor. Should be able to secure this Lord and able to win that trade. But they're going to go in. I think they're going to try and close it out. They're going to try and take match point away from Cloud9. There goes the knock-up, the stun, and Marcuti will fall. Nas left alone all by himself, wondering, how did I get here? And BTK will reign supreme and secures game number 4 against Cloud9.
Yeah, if you thought they were out, you don't know BTK. Still signs of life showing up in this. When it comes down to crunch time in game 4, they find a victory.
Yeah, I mean, it took long enough, right? BTK finally putting a point on the board. For all the BTK fans, it's just 3 more to go. Just 3 more to go. They've done the impossible before. But let's talk about the game that just happened, because BTK, I think, for the first time in the past 4 games, they drafted cleanly. They counterplayed. They moved around the map. They didn't force fights. They knew they had control, and they actually played a textbook game, in my opinion.
Yeah, able to turn this around. Who would have thought, right? And then overall, just a very good draft. A little different than what we've seen in the previous games. Zane running on something that's a little bit more staple meta, and not only running on it, but, I mean, look at the MVP, right? He's just doing a great job on that Julian, and this is definitely making a major difference in being able to secure these games over Cloud9, who usually has been in control for the early phase.
Yeah, and especially against the composition we were all kind of gritting our teeth at, the Phoveus, the Aurora, that Cloud9 has been so successful on in the past. And we were wondering, I mean, BTK is not prioritizing it. They do get the Julian, but they give up some very, very strong picks here. But I want to say the answer here, Shark, on the Ruby, just was that little ingredient that was needed for BTK to really have the offset, to really kind of take the punishment to the side of Cloud9.
Yeah, I think the Ruby was the key piece there, and I think as they move into the next game, could be another very important slotted pick for them. Shark played amazing on it. Not only did he play great on it, but also it was just a great answer to the Phoveus. It was a great answer to the Best Player, to anyone that really wanted to try to get up close and personal, and even Basic on this carry. It's a close range marksman, and he couldn't really bob and weave the way he wanted to with Shark on this Ruby, hanging out in the team fights.
Yeah, just a great counter over to Lolita as well. I mean, Cold World not able to find those angles with his Numeon Blast. It's huge, right? When you don't have the set potential, your team can't follow up, and that's going to help BTK win these engagements and these team fights, and that's exactly what we've seen happen. I mean, this was a pretty early finish from them as well, right? Every single moment of this game, it just seemed like they were in total control.
And even in that last play there.
Yeah, you talk about the good too here is that you were able to get Mobazane on something he was comfortable on, or at least it felt more comfortable with that Julian there, to really actually still be putting on the damage, to really kind of carry the flag of BTK forward for his team, to give them that room that they needed to kind of get that scaling.
Yeah, so I mean, they got one, right? They get that game. Do they just continue on this same streak, or does C9 let them do that again, right? Because they had answers to the Julian before. They've been able to kind of work around Zane with that. BTK still is not out of this yet.
No, not at all. I mean, I honestly, you're at a point now, and this is going to be Cloud9 has the first pick here, so they're going to get the priority here. You can see there, Julian taken off the board for the side of Cloud9. They're not going to let him have that again. And I'm wondering, do we possibly get Zane on something that he's still comfortable on, or like the first few games that were less successful for BTK, do we kind of go outside the box again for a pick that might not be that might not be good. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, there's only one way to dish that one out. and honestly, there goes thinking inside the box, and that's been the same strategy for Cloud9 this entire game, just going with staple meta, right? They're going to go ahead and pick up this Phoveus yet again. Now, it wasn't as profitable last game, and I wouldn't really say that was a Phoveus issue. I think that was just more of not having a roamer to be able to get the setups for the team to make the most out of. When you don't have the set potential, effectively, a team like BTK, who thrives on the early game economy, who thrives on the turtles and the Lord engagements, they're going to profit. And when you get them comfortable, that's when that light switch flickers on, and that's when they're able to shine the most. So now jumping into game number 5. You're getting BTK a chance to be able to turn this back around. And I don't think they should look at this as, oh, we got to win 3 games in a row. I think they should look at it as just one more game, right? That's just one more game, and that's how they got to play it. And hopefully we get to see this go the distance. It's looking good, though. It's definitely a totally different play style in the last game than what we've seen this entire series. And I definitely think that Zane, he needs to be inside the box for these jungle picks.
Yeah, most definitely. I think Nolan could be solid here. We still haven't seen it. It's not like, I'm really surprised he hasn't picked it up, because we've seen him play it in past NACTs. It's not like it's something that's completely unsung to him. C9 though, pick up the Claude immediately. They don't this time want to give BTK a chance to ban him out to where he's maybe they don't want to have to put him on the carry again. Yes, it did work one game, but I still don't think it is an extremely comfortable pick. And when Basic is comfortable, when he's able to get on something that he has a lot of versatility on, the rest of the team does do well because of it. BTK though, take the Aurora. We saw how well it did against the Phoveus in previous games. So both teams slotting up well right now.
Yeah, doing a good job of that. The only thing, I mean, I do like the draft, a little bit of a mix-up from the first game that we saw. Now they have the Aurora. They're able to take that away from Cloud9 so that they don't really have to have that huge fear of trying to go ahead, rush in. However, the big thing, the failure that we saw from BTK in game 1 was Shark was able to get the show, was able to find those kicks in the super early game, but once it moved on to the mid game, once they kind of fell behind, BTK was struggling to even get Shark to get in there because he was getting bursted down. They weren't able to even burst down people that they found the kicks on. So it's going to need to be a very careful game here. They do have a lot of CC on BTK side, which I do like to see.
Yeah, we got to see what's the answer to the Phoveus as well, right? I mean, technically Cho's over there. I mean, it could be flexed over to Chick, and we have actually seen that before, a Cho go up against the Phoveus in the XP lane, so it's not the worst option. But also, speaking of options, the Gatat being on the playing field for Cloud9, a lot different than that Lolita performance we saw, right? It's going to be a little bit easier for him to get to that back line, especially with that AOG. Late game insurance is guaranteed from the Claude as well over there by Basic, who also can play for survivability, especially when you have a Cho on the opposing side. And we've seen just how well Chos can perform, right? You can Jeekundo your way through anything and find your way to the back line, but having the BMI for some insurance can definitely be a tool for Cloud9.
So with this last pick coming in, again, I think, I mean, I keep saying it, but I think the Nolan's solid here. You banned out the Hayabusa. You limit down on to what a best player can pick up here, because that's definitely what he's most likely picking up, unless he goes for the Ling or a Fanny or something like that along those lines, which with him coming into this last slot, either of those picks are definitely very probable. On the side of BTK, they go for the Ruby. So Ruby, I mean, and even this, they can still, like you just said, they can still flex Cho over into EXP. But I think either way, I kind of wanted to see the Ruby earlier in draft because it worked so well against the Phoveus last time. So I'm glad they still ended up making it work.
Yeah, I was actually kind of worried because I was thinking that maybe Chicken would not be as comfortable using the Ruby in there. I don't really like the matchup between the early game Ruby and the early game Phoveus, so it's gonna be really interesting to see how well Fried Chicken can play that. We've talked about it before, especially against Nats right now. He's been playing kind of like he has to play passive. There's nothing you can really do with some of these picks, especially against the Phoveus. You have to wait your turn, wait for him to kind of do what he needs to do, then you go in there, get the scraps you need to of your minions. But it's going to be interesting to see if we can put some kind of focus. More interesting than that, Nolan taken off the table. Where does Moba Zane go here for the jungle?
Bane.
Everybody's just staring at Zane's photo right now, man. What does he think? Look at his smile over there, man. Look at that devious, sinister smile. He's planning the most crazy pick. There it goes. A guy is back in the building, baby.
That was on my bingo card, guys. That was on my bingo card. A Kai pick on Nova Zane Grand Finals. It was so, we made it. It's there. It happened. They do have damage this time. They have Zia with the damage. They have Hoon on the Aurora. There is opportunity, and, against a Noland and the heavy spin, you still have some retribution. You have some objective priority. It's just, as we've said in the past, it's not current meta, but can they make it work?
Man, I am wondering because there's going to take some time for this damage to come up for BTK, where Zia comes in very late game. Shark's going to need some items. Hoon is, I want to say he does have damage, but in the early game, it's mostly the CC that you're leaning on. So I'm wondering, maybe do you put Fried Chicken, who's going to be on that Cho? Do you put him as a damage Cho there? I think we're about to find out here, guys. We are at Game 5, Cloud9 taking on BTK.
And the coin flips again. Another chance for the Bloodthirsty Kings to find a way to even out this series. I mean, hey, who would have thought it, right? They took game number 4, able to find their first victory so far, but this is still match point for Cloud9, so they're going to have to bring their A game.
Yeah, so taking a look at this, how does BTK approach this game, right? I think they definitely take it slow. They don't need to force anything. They do have the peel. They have Shark on the Ruby. It did end up being a Ruby Shark, and when they're going to put Cho into the EXP lane, because a lot of damage on a Shark, though. Already at first blood.
Yeah, able to find him, able to take him down, and overall, a great objective for Cloud9.
Yeah, and man, that is not the way you want to start off there, especially for Shark, especially when we're leaning on that Ruby to have such an effect here toward the mid and late game.
So, as I was trying, I kind of wanted Shark to stay on his side of the jungle, but he gets a little greedy there, goes to their side. I think at this point they have to know that their damage base is just, and there's another pick on a Shark. Going to be able to get away. But yeah, I think they just need to play it safe. Let Zia farm, let Hoon get some damage in the tank, and if they can do that, that's the win con.
It's just, with that first kill over Cloud9, you can definitely tell they're being a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more picky on when to engage. And I think it's more credits even over to Cobra, right? He's running on a roamer who's not limited, especially like that Lolita in game number 4.
I mean, if anybody can pull out some of these picks, it's going to be Zane here, but we just really need to see what the plan is. We're going to have this first objective started by Cloud9. Rest of BTK looking for an opportunity.
Yeah, Zane forced to use a heavy spin, trying to close the distance, able to get the retry just in time for the Bloodthirsty Kings, but Cloud9 looking for a punish. Chicken needing to get back to safety, has the G-Kundo, but Nact on his tail trying to get the pick off, but will not be able to find it.
I'm not going to lie. I don't think I've seen Chicken on a Cho in a very, 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 very long time. And, it's definitely doable. It's definitely viable, but I don't know if this is comfort for him. Comfort for Zane on the Akai? Yes. Comfort for Zia on this Moskov? Yes, but everyone's going to need to play to their best ability here. BTK does get that first turtle, so after taking that early game first death, it's huge for them.
Yeah, and I have to wonder, too, sometimes, was this pick, was it the best in slot for this composition, or was it simply just to take it away from Nats?
Yeah, the I'm Offended does connect for the setup, and Shark ultimately finding a kill takes down Cobra.
Whoa. Got the zoom in. We just got the zoom in here. I'm sorry, that threw me off a little bit. Best player. I haven't seen the map like this in a long time, guys. I'm used to watching at the full wide angle. And there we go. We're back to it. Thank you. I don't. Mobazane now. Panda. How we feel in private.
I mean, right now it's working, especially when it comes to maybe we're just focused on the objectives. Fly Chicken takes a heap of damage there, but if we're just focused on objectives, we have the heavy spin, we can get everybody out of the way, still get the retribution in there, which can lead us into that mid game, into the late game, where we're going to get the power spikes for Hoon, for Zia there as well.
I mean, they got a lot of bullies for the early game, a lot of crowd control, especially with that Akai. I mean, he's a one-man army with that heavy spin, right? He should be able to zone everybody out, be able to close the distance, and get these turtles, and that's exactly what you've seen from Mobazane. I mean, it's a hero he thrives on, right? He doesn't have to really worry about the team looking for that setup. He can just create that opportunity himself.
I mean, definitely. I mean, a lot of opportunities created. And BTK, they have the crowd control, right? They do have the answers, but it's still kind of a time game for them. And I think it's why they're not trying to force this turtle right now. Because even earlier in the very beginning, we saw how much damage best player even doing to a tank like Mobazane. Shark in some trouble, should be able to get away. Nat's being the bully, he seems to always be. But yeah, BTK still just waiting on that clock to keep ticking.
Yeah, and it's and ticking away it is. Nat's doing such a great job. Whatever he plays, he's always all over the map. Ooh, Zane!
Ooh, and a little bit of trouble. Forced to use a heavy spin, pinning Nats on the wall. Chicken trying to find an opportunity for the engagement. Won't be able to do it now. Nat's trying to punish. Frigid Glacier connecting. I'm offended as well. Nat's still alive, trying to get to the bush. Trying to limit their vision. Hit with the G-Kondo. Chicken, possibly with the final touches, able to find Nas on the heavy aggressive play, but look at Zia on the bot side. AOG connecting. And Zia will fall. Cold World may pay the ultimate price, though. No, able to get back out.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, Basic now gets a tower, Zia goes down, and this is kind of, you know, we mentioned Basic getting on a comfort pick like this, and even if BTK can keep up in objectives when it gets down to Lords, even if he makes a big heavy spin play with Mobazane and steals a Lord, we know the threat that Basic carries on this Claude in these off lanes.
Man, Mobazane, I want to say they were threading the needle with that fight against Nats there. He was very close to being able to take down Mobazane. They do find the synergy, able to find the combinations there to be able to take him down, but it's answered right away at the bottom lane for Cloud9, finding the tower. And, I mean, Zia, we talked about this matchup before offline. There's been so much improvement from the side of Basic there to be able to, and then the pressure that you're getting here now.
Ooh, 2v1 matchup, not going to work in Zia's favor. Basic able to secure the kill. Shark will follow. Nas be the one to secure that. In Cold World, they're not letting anybody go for free. AOG, but heavy spin punish. Cold World forced into the tier 3 turret. A Beyblade, and Chicken will find Cold World.
Cloud9 loses something for that push there. Roamer for Roamer. BTK, though, still very much hanging on here. Falling behind a bit in gold, but it's not over yet.
Yeah, this isn't the first time. I mean, BTK, at this point, BTK is used to playing with a little bit of a gold deficit on them. But here we can start seeing even some of those objectives, what I was talking about earlier, where they might have some insurance, having Mobazane with that heavy spin. They're starting to lose some of these objectives. They're starting to fall a little bit behind. And that's not really what you want from a composition like this, like that I feel personally is lacking a bit of damage.
Yeah, definitely lacking in damage, but overwhelming in crowd control, and they got to make that work in their advantage, especially for these early objectives. And not to mention, even though they have the heavy spin to work in their favor, Marcuti, he's picking up that heavy spin as well. So technically, Cloud9 has the same utility.
And not only is it crowd control with Cloud9, but they also have movement on the map. A Shark in a little bit of trouble. Should be okay. The disengage happens. Items are up. No, still forcing it. They're testing the waters here. They're testing the waters.
Yeah, a little bit of a little wet feet there from both sides there, kind of dipping into there, trying to find out where they can kind of put their limit push out there. Ooh, Zane was still able to get his purple buff there. Zooms in, grabs it, and gets away.
Yeah, but we got to see. I mean, with the Sakai pickup, I mean, effectively, you're a jungle bully, right? You should be able to kind of zoom in with the heavy spins and get these objectives. With the next objective on the board, will he be able to pull that off? So far, Cloud9 has regained their composure that they lost in game number 4. There goes the heavy spin. There's the Beyblade action. going toward the mid lane. Two Cyclones in the making. Need to be careful, but not going to find a setup for either side.
It's such a great answer, too, because you would think maybe go for the Frigid Glacier, right? Go for the big I'm offended. But what that does, essentially, is completely nullify what Mobazane wants to do with the heavy spin. It completely nullifies what the point of bringing the Akai into this game was, and Mark Cutie is answering it beautifully.
And right now, a lot of pressure coming in. The little cut from the side of Cloud9 is going to be more than enough for them to get this next tower. First Lord up on the map.
Look at the bot side. Chicken. The fracture, too much to handle. Best player on this. Nolan, a major threat and sidesteps the Spear of Destruction on his way out.
Honestly, I don't even know if he wanted, even if he lands that Spirit of Destruction, I don't know if he wants that smoke right now. Best player sitting at 0-0 and 2, but the damage is definitely there. Noland is looking scary at 9 minutes in.
Yeah, and now they're going to go ahead, start putting some pressure on. They need to kind of make something happen here as Mobazane getting locked onto by Nats.
Yeah, both sides still finding a way to engage, and right now Cloud9 having a little bit of the upper edge. Shark forced to use I'm Offended. Mark Cutie holding on to that heavy spin, right? He's just waiting. He knows Mobazane is going to go in for it, but if he can hold on to it, then effectively he can nullify it. He can cancel it out with the heavy spin of his own. Speaking of Mobazane, down to 50% HP, that heavy spin may come out a little early, but Zane doesn't want to let it go, but he's being punished by Ness. He's going to force it out. There's the heavy spin, which means this should be a secured objective for the side of Cloud9 as Ness, the distraction, and the utility baiter.
Ooh, and just like that, I mean, Nats, the sacrificial lamb for Cloud9, dives in, and they are able, Cloud9 able to secure, using that death to secure an objective.
BTK does at least get a tower out of it. They get a little bit of ground back. They break through the mid. Having Nats gone means that front wall for Cloud9 is kind of gone. They need to try to get out of this Lord position without losing barely any material. I don't know. It's definitely a tough spot, but getting that kill, even though they lose Lord, it does help balance the table.
Yeah, and right now the table is set for Cloud9 to push into that tier 3 turret, possibly in the mid lane. May find an opportunity for an engagement on the bot side as well. Look at Zane's positioning though. I mean, he's behind Cloud9 right now. He could get a pin on the wall. Zia could go in for the damage, but is it the most viable answer, especially with not having the numbers on their side?
And now we're starting to see, ooh, nice I'm offended.
Yeah, Frigid Glacier, as a response, there's the heavy spin we were looking for, but the demonic force back to the mid-river from Ness.
I like it. I think it might have just been because he's spinning. He gets away in time. Don't know if it was meant to go that way, but it ended up working out perfectly. Couple towers do go down for the side of BTK. But even with the Sakai pick, even with the question of it, it feels like BTK are not out of this. I mean, could get out of this still yet.
Well, they're not out of this. They could still find themselves some positives here. Oh, nice I'm offended.
Yeah, right now looking for that positive, trying to hold on to the tier 3 turret in the mid lane, but Cloud9 on them like a fly on the wall. Not going to try and allow them that opportunity for the defensive push back up, but they're doing a great job. I mean, they're still providing that control. Zane, I mean, on the Sakai, right? I mean, if he has a heavy spin, he can provide a good barrier, especially against that objective.
So taking a look at the items real fast, I want to take a look at Basic because this man has been farming. He's been hungry. He's been doing his thing. And he just locked in the Wind of Nature. And we're starting to see him get a little bit more involved with these fights. We're starting to see him kind of close the distance a bit more. But Best Player might be in trouble.
There is no way he's getting out of that engagement. Too much crowd control. I mean, it's like a deer in the headlights right there. Best Player, he knew. He just knew. And that's going to be a kill over to the Bloodthirsty Kings.
Oh man, but just like that, they're able to reply, putting some damage onto mid. But man, BTK holding on to this mid tower for dear life.
It is the last thing standing. It is the one thing between them and Annihilation, but not completely. But yes, we could drum it up. But no, they've been doing a great job. And what that does, if that goes down, Cloud9 just gains complete control. So I think it's very well done that they're able to do this. And C9 are not any slouches. They're not like just letting them keep it. They're doing everything they can to try to take it down. Lord going to be up in just a few seconds with BTK not being that far behind. Oh, big play.
Yeah, Best Player caught out of position. Zia able to get the kill, but wait a second. Nas, Marcuti rushing to the bot side, grabs the I'm offended. Does he go for the setup on Zia? Not able to connect. Zia able to expand the distance back to safety. And yeah, BTK holding on to that tier 3 turret, allowing them to inch their way up the map, taking the tier 3 on the bot side, and now the battle for the Lord on the way. The retribution gets it for BTK and finds Cold World. Zia will find basic 3 members down for Cloud9, and BTK catching their footing.
More than catching their footing.
The answer, I know there were a lot of doubters, including me, in the Kai right there. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of holding my breath as that heavy spin was. I'm like, who's gonna get the retribution here? That's about 15 seconds long right now.
Yeah, I mean, just overall, just in control. I mean, BTK have taken control at this point, and Cloud9 wants to go for the split pushing. BTK found the answers. In a matter of games, BTK seems to have finally started to pull Cloud9's card.
It just shows you how strong that tier 3 turret in the mid lane is. I mean, look how much it's turned this game around. They got a Lord. They're able to force them down to their inhibitor turrets. It's a completely full 180 for the Bloodthirsty Kings, and now the play on the way for the bot side. Cold World, Immortality being that's going to be the winner crown. Zia able to take him down though with the Lord intact. Numbers in BTK's favor. They're looking to take game number 5. Members down for the side of Cloud9. Marcuti befalls. Zia finding basic best player by himself. And BTK looking to win the trade. Best player finds Shark. Gets a triple kill. Finds Moba Zane. But no more minions in play. May have bought him a window of opportunity, some breathing room. And they're able to hold on. Look at the health of the base crystal.
7 seconds for Cold World.
That is amazing right now. Like, I can't believe. Oh, this might be it.
Oh, Frigid Glacier. Not going to buy Cloud9 the time needed, and BTK able to take game number 5 against Cloud9.
Ooh, just when you thought it was over, BTK looking like they could pull out a reverse sweep here.
I mean, just very well done. I mean, we're still working our way, but BTK, I mean, just with that game right there, it felt like even after they fall behind, they this time had the answers. Cloud9 has been a team that has just been working around everything that BTK has brought to them. But now, I mean, it just feels like BTK is a completely different team, right? It feels like they are coming into this. Everyone is on point. Zia, Shark, Fly Chicken, even Hoon, is just landing those skills and making everything count.
Oh, gentlemen, listen to this. We are effectively 1 game away from potentially tying up this series and going to a game 7 again. BTK, every time they're in this situation, they make it happen.
Bro, I don't even know what to say here right now. The picks, I was really doubting the damage to come out from BTK through here, but the immense amount of CC that came out from them, able to really control this game right from the get-go. They did lose 2 objectives there. I want to say a great job by the side of BTK to read those situations and know, you know what, let's go ahead and back off. They can have these 2 turtles. We don't need to get it, but when it comes to the Lord, when it comes to protecting our mid, man, they did such a great job.
So does this mean now, just when in doubt, pick a Kai? Just when in doubt. I mean, people are going to hate on it, but he made it work very well. Even at the end there, the double man pin. But also, we got to give some props to Hoon there, man. Man won 0 deaths on the Aurora. He was shining, And Hoon's been in this weird place for me lately. He's been in this place where I'm wondering, like, where's that aggressive Hoon that we used to know and love? And today, these past 2 games, he's been bringing it.
BTK's out here making their own meta, this NACT, and it's definitely thriving for the last 2 games. And as we see some of the engagements from the last match, yeah, definitely impressive. Has the world speechless. I mean, at a moment there, it looked like Cloud9 was in full control, but then again, Mobazane getting the double pin on the wall and them able to turn it back around in their favor has put them in a position to take control of this series, right? I mean, right now, if they win this next game, it's a game 7, which means effectively the chances of them being able to push through is a lot higher than it was in the beginning of the series.
Well, I mean, that's technically unbeaten in Game 7s right now, so that's what they're looking to kind of bring this to. And this was that gank that we saw onto best player down at the bottom, and it just is this is that long, heavy spin. I was just sitting here like, man, somebody needs to hit that retribution. Did such a great job, and then the final push coming out from BTK to close up and seal the deal.
Definitely felt like one of the longest heavy spins we have ever seen. It was just going on and on and on, and I'm sure Basic felt it. And even here in this last push, Basic just not really able to get in there. He has to wait for the heavy spin to finish. He has to watch out for the Frigid Glacier. Overall, BTK they were able to layer so many of those skills so well in those team fights. And even when Cloud9 found a few answers with the IMU, BTK found ways to work around it.
They did, and it was impressive.
And the question kind of comes up now, what do you adjust to that now they can pull out an Akai and be successful? Not just an Akai, but an Akai with, what was it, just the Moskov, just, you were talking about Hoon on the Aurora there, which, I mean, maybe he needs to start laying down. That's the one difference that we saw from the playoffs in the season game. He was sitting upright. Now he's laying down. He's found his zen. He is with it right now.
All right, so stay laid down. Stay laid down. That's the plan, right?
He's meditating, right? He's channeling his inner chakra and ready to deal some massive damage and punish Cloud9. And so far, it's been very effective. Not the way I expected this series to go at all, right? I didn't expect to see a YSS picked up and put into the goal lane. I didn't expect to see an Akai jump out here. But nonetheless, BTK is getting it done, and they're one step closer to evening out this series. Now for Cloud9, it kind of raises the question, was it overconfidence that's causing these issues, right? Did they just get a little overconfident knowing, oh, we're up by not just 2 games, potentially 3 games, and we don't have to really worry about the climb back from BTK, and that overconfidence is starting to rain back on them now. I feel like they can feel the pressure now. They didn't feel it before, but it's definitely there now.
And last time we saw BTK, they finally won on red side. They won on blue side before that. Now we're back to blue side where we saw them get the Julian, and they get the Julian again. So they seem to be back in the driver's seat of the draft in a sense. They found some answers, and with this Julian pick, does it get the Ruby is a great steal, but with the Julian pick, does it give us even more possibilities for that game number 7? Cold World though, Ruby, great answer.
And I'm wondering, okay, I was about to say, they either take the Phobius or they take the Aurora here, which would, I want to say the Aurora and the Ruby might have been a little crazy there. I would have completely sealed off any kind of frontal assault coming from BTK there. But on a point that was just brought up about the pressure starting to get up, we already know BTK, they've been at that downhill on that back foot before where they were at a huge disadvantage. I don't know that Cloud9 has ever been in a position. Nobody's ever pushed them that far to where they've starting to come from behind. You've got 2 games now for the side of BTK here. And I'm wondering if maybe that's going to start affecting Cloud9, if that's going to be something that comes into play.
It's kind of funny. Maybe it just takes time for BTK to warm up, right? I mean, when we saw them in week 2, it was 3-1. When we saw them in the upper bracket finals, it was 3-1. But we didn't go to a game number 4, right? We didn't get to see a game number 4 BTK. And this is what happens after the 3-1. So now we'll be able to see exactly how this kind of plays out for them. And like we said, if they win this game, then it's a 50-50, right? It's a 50-50 in a game 7, which drastically increases the odds of their success rate. And they're riding on the momentum of already having 2 wins in a row. But like Trex mentioned, he had a little bit of that fumble once he saw that Ruby pop in there. And I don't blame him for it. I think it's really great this early in the draft, right? It's great to secure for a couple of reasons, because you can flex it into the roam position, into the XP lane, and not traditionally run it into the goal lane. But with that Phobius locked in, we know it's at least not going to be in the XP role. So it's a good read. And you can definitely tell with this draft around that Cloud9 is definitely going heavy meta, as heavy as possible. But when BTK, the Moskov pickup is what they're prioritizing, and that's been very effective for them so far.
And along with that Aurora, right? I mean, there's just overall, it feels like we're actually seeing some trades happen now. BTK's finally put C9 to a point in the draft where, okay, yeah, you take the Ruby and the Phoveus, but we get the Aurora and the Moskov plus the Julian. And in some of those games that BTK was losing, it didn't feel like C9 was actually trading with him. It just felt like C9 was taking and taking. And BTK has gotten into that groove now where it's like, okay, we know what we need to prioritize. We know what you want to prioritize. We know what's important in these matchups. And they're going for it. Mark Cutie, though, are on the gun. C9 on the gun for first pick and second phase.
Yeah, and especially now, I'm kind of wondering, though, we do kind of have some priority. We, like you said, they have the Moskov out there. We have the Aurora. I do like the Aurora and having the Julian for Mobazane, but what do we do to answer the Phoveus, which is going... Oh, and now we have the Lu Yi, which is going to create this huge amount of map pressure against BTK. Well, we've seen this before, man, especially when it comes to using that diversion ultimate. You can teleport anywhere on the map, which means that nowhere is safe during these objective fights. Even if you just check the bush, you have to be worried about that diversion coming in there a second later.
Yeah, I mean, now Cloud9 has the element of surprise to keep BTK on their toes. There's the R-Lot, you know, we don't get to see the R-Lot too often. It's going to be great here, especially being able to proc from all the crowd control from the side of BTK, right? You have the Aurora, you also have the Guinevere on top of that with the Julian. Guinevere, that's another one we haven't seen in a while, but definitely a BTK pickup for sure. And that should be Shark for the most part. Picking that up. That is going to be a roam, I believe. I mean, technically, you could put into the XP lane and run the R-Lot roam, but I think it would be more effective with the Guinevere for these setups.
If that is a head scratcher right there, and I still don't know. We're going to see it now. Shark will be on the Guinevere. White Chicken on the R-Lot. I'm just trying to think about this. Yes, I guess it closes the distance on a basic. It can get the knock-up onto Nats and stop him in his tracks. It is definitely unconventional. And let's not forget, this is still match point for Cloud9, but BTK was the team that just won with the Akai, right? They were the team that just won with their own meta. So can they do it again?
Just about to say, throw out every single thing you think you know about meta and counter picks when BTK is drafting here. We're going to see if this Gwen kind of pulls in there, especially because Whole World is going to have the Ruby instead of Shark. So you're not going to be able to punish Basic as much for getting in close with that carry. We're going to see here, ladies and gentlemen, we are at Game 5 of BTK versus Cloud9.
Yeah, definitely going to have to bring their A game for BTK. Another shot to be able to get a potential reverse sweep up against Cloud9. Cloud9, again, sitting at match point. They just need one victory to claim that crown.
Okay, so I know why the Guinevere is good, right? Because when you're up against a Ruby, you can't walk up to the Ruby, but you can jump on top of the Ruby. So maybe that's the answer, right? I mean, maybe that's the thought here. If you're able to get the knock up on the Cold War, and it's the same thing with Nats, you can't really walk up to the Phoveus, but if you're able to just jump on top and get that instant CC, maybe that's the answer here.
Yeah, but you see right now we got 3 Purifies on the side of Cloud9, so it's going to have to be very careful about when we kind of jump in, who we're going for. If we go for Mark Cutie, we're going to need to make sure that that Purify is already expended, because you could pretty much become a lightning rod to your team as they connect those yin-yangs.
Yeah, I was going to say also with Mark Cutie, the diversion plays are going to be something we got to keep a close eye on, right? We see players pick up the Lu Yi and sometimes they're not very aggressive, but we see other players, every time that diversion's available, they use it to teleport across the map and find an opportunity, even if it's something little, to be able to work in the team's favor.
Yeah, so, I mean, at this point, we're back to kind of both teams playing things slow, right? The Lu Yi, like you mentioned, once it gets to that level 4, with Cloud9 already being a pretty heavy macro-orientated team, a team that wants to jump around, play off lanes, play angles, it works very well with their play style. Though it's not as popular, I think it's still very threatening in the hands of Mark Cutie and in the hands of Cloud9.
Yeah, and we're starting to kind of dance around this objective. It does look like Cloud9 going to go ahead and possibly turn away. Best player looking for an angle.
Yeah, trying to find a window of opportunity. Moba Zane, best player, both in retry distance. There goes Nasta with the separation. Chicken, able to find Mar Cutie off screen for first blood, and Turtle.
So at this point, Turtle reset. BTK getting buffs. Cloud9 getting buffs. Big meetup, big brawl at the first Turtle. Probably going to be a lot more action than we've seen in the first few minutes of the past 2 games.
Yeah, they're vying for a position here right now, resetting it again. Fried Chicken doing a good job of trying to keep it busy for them. They do have a little bit of a clash down at the bottom. No worse for wear are either of them, but still a little bit of respect paid for both of them. Still tie game when it comes to the goal, but just 1 kill in favor of BTK.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great pickoff, too. Able to find the mid laner, right? Mar Cutie. You need to be a little bit more passive. He needs to use these diversion plays to have the element of surprise, but you can't be surprising us with these early pickoffs. Speaking of surprises, though, BTK doing a great job on maintaining the pressure and the momentum they've already gained from those 2 wins in a row. Best player able to get the steal on the Turtle, but possible punish on the way. Spatial migration in with the Violent Requiem. Fried Chicken able to find best player. Chicken will fall as well, though. Mar Cutie able to find him.
I think that's a good trade, though. Good trade for BTK there. They do lose Turtle, but they get a kill on the jungler. They lose Fried Chicken. It's maybe an even trade, Private.
Yeah, I mean, they lose a Turtle and a kill, so I mean, it's just narrowly up for Cloud9 right there. And man, it's just you gotta be a little bit more quicker to the dial there if you're Moba Zane. You cannot be losing those early objectives, especially when they had such an advantage in the numbers at that fight.
Yeah, we know, like, you give a team a little bit of an advantage and they make the most out of it, especially when it comes to the top 2 in North America. Now, Shark on this Guinevere, how are we feeling about it so far? I think it's great when it has the mobility and also the survivability, the spatial migration, not only to close the distance, but also play as an escape maneuver as well.
Yeah, I think it just worked pretty well. We just saw it right against the Phoveus. Got the big knockup just because it's able to so quickly. Wait a second, diversion.
Oh, quickly. I think we need a new word for how fast Moba Zane was shredded right there on that purple buff, and looks like they're going to go in and try and take the farm as well. No, yeah, it looks like they may actually go in for it. A quick pickoff for Cloud9.
Man, and we were talking about this, how well that's going to start coming into play, especially for a team like Cloud9, who macro just seems to be one of their specialties.
So, I mean, at this point, now the paranoia is going to start to set in, right? For BTK, it's like, what bush is safe? Which way is safe? They can always be lurking. So, vision is going to be key. Shark is going to have to start playing on the opposite side of river a bit more. Everyone's going to need to be communicating about where the enemy is at all time, taking a look at the items. Zia is doing okay as long as it doesn't get caught off here.
Yeah, Korod looking for the I'm a finish play. Able to catch Zia stuck on the wall. Not able to get the safety, and Mar Cutie with the final touches takes him down.
Every time I mention Zia.
That is unfortunate for him. He was looking for an angle. He didn't have the cooldown to be able to get away fast enough, and by the time he was finally able to find that little dash, he did get bursted down.
Yeah, so I mean, now Basic gets a tower. He can start getting involved in these fights. It's a rough spot for Zia. It's going to be some time now until he can really catch up and get involved, because he's always going to have to be worried about that lane.
Oh, speaking of lanes, a lot of action in the mid-river. Nas able to find Chicken, but will fall himself as Shark getting the kill on this Guinevere. Best player smells the low HP, uses the retribution, not able to get the fracture off though, and Shark will remain alive. Back to the base he goes.
Yeah, right now the gold lead is starting to expand for Cloud9. Moba Zane.
Ooh, trying to find a pickoff on the best player, but Cold World closing the distance. Moba Zane, a wise decision to disengage.
Oh, more action though.
Yeah, you are going to find Zia taking down best player. Can still play called out on Zia, trying to find the punish. You see a lot of golden staffs being picked up as well for that attack speed, and Zane able to take the tier 3 on the bot side.
Yeah, and we're starting to match up, I want to say, when it comes to towers. 1 tower for both of them right now. So, I mean, it's still a very even game. No firm leads just yet for BTK or for Cloud9.
And so taking a look back at these items in that gold lane. Last time we saw Zia with a nice lead over Basic, but this time Basic is definitely a bit ahead, right? We're looking at almost a 1,000 gold lead into the hands of Basic. Zia hasn't even finished his second item, and we're getting to the 8-minute mark soon where you need to almost be there. At that point, 8-9 minutes, you should be kind of getting into possibly that third item, like half of your third item build, couple pieces of it. So Zia, it's going to be a minute until maybe even 10 or 11 until he can really pop off.
Yeah, and you can see the Malefic Roar picked up as well from best player for that pin. Dealing a lot of damage on this Nolan already, but BTK still finding a way to the objective, in control for a possible turtle. Bionic Force dropping down, a stun on the chicken, Frigid Glacier, and a Spirit Destruction combination. Best player, no worries. We'll be able to find fried chicken, and BTK forced out of the turtle pit.
Yeah, forced out. They're not going to be able to find... Oh, on the Mobazane!
Oh, man, I think the bounty on his head right there was definitely more of a prile than that turtle. Able to secure not only a turtle, though, finding Mobazane and a tier 3 turret in the mid lane.
Cloud9 now, I mean, at this point, they're well ahead. I mean, and it's match point. If this continues this way, it is looking rough for BTK. Zane's taken 2 deaths, 0 kills. He's a level behind best player, and that's going to continue to stack because best player's just able to farm as Mobazane's stuck in the graveyard waiting to come back. And I'm wondering, you know, Shark, he's 0 deaths, but we haven't seen that big violent Requiem. They need to get some sort of combo. They have to get some sort of cohesion in between the members of their team.
Yeah, and it's going to kind of, you're looking for the combination with Hoon possibly. I mean, I have not seen kind of like that Wombo combo coming out from them, especially when the Frigid Glacier comes out. We don't see Shark kind of capitalizing on it, and right now it's the pick. It is a good pick. I see the genius in it. It's just right now it has not paid its dividends.
Yeah, and Marcuti doing pretty good on this Louis. 3-1-3, highest kills in the game so far. And they still have that element of surprise for Cloud9, right? Some sneaky diversion plays may be on the way. There goes a special migration play for the setup on the best player. Hoon will rush in for the opportunity with the alley-oop, able to shut him down, and that'll be best player out of the game right now for Cloud9.
Which is huge, right? Lord's about to be up in 20 seconds. Taking best player down is going to be important. It's going to give them a nice position. Maybe they can steal some jungle. They can gain control of the map. And maybe even fight for this next Lord, as they're not too far behind in gold, right? It's still very doable if they get the correct positioning.
Yeah, and that was a perfect example of what I was talking about, is kind of chaining together that CC. You saw the spatial migration landed, and then the Violet Requiem, and then you saw the freeze come out from Hoon there. Oh!
Yeah, you're going to see the I'm offended from Cold World. A little premature, though. I mean, you found Shark, but that's not really the one you want to set up, especially for this Lord play. And now a possible punish. Cold World will fall. Hoon finding yet another kill within the last minute for BTK.
The stacking of skills is definitely happening as Private Stead. BTK finding some flow in their fights.
Speaking of flow, special migration in and out as well, knocking up Nact, and now Cloud9 trying to punish, trying to force out BTK from the Lord pit, but they're not going to let it go for free. Conceal play called out from Shark, but not able to find the setup they're looking for.
Oh, and they're going to go ahead. They're going to reset that Lord right there. But you do have best player. He's still looking to go ahead and put on the damage there. Marcuti from the side finds himself some damage. And another reset. Man, both these guys dancing around.
Yeah, they got to watch out for Shark, though. Shark gets a big Violent Requiem, and he was searching for it there. He's been hanging out of that mid-bush so much around these neutral objectives, keeping his eyes out. But I feel like Cloud9, you know, they kind of sense that something's there. They know not to overextend. But if Shark lands something, if it's a big 2-man Violent Requiem, it could definitely be the turnaround. Cloud9 at this point just need to play it safe. They need to be careful about the way they move on. They need to keep vision.
And Vision is really on Shark, right? He's able to let them know the state of the Lord, and now BTK trying to rush in, not going to be able to close the distance. Best player will be able to secure it. Marcuti finally kills Zia, taking down Basic. Zane responding back, finds Nact. Basic taking down Zia. A 2-for-2 trade, but Cloud9 secures the Lord.
Man, that speedy light wheel. I mean, Zia was still able to find the kill onto basic, but the speedy light wheel already had like 3 or 4 auto attacks out there lying in wait for Zia by the time he found the kill. And even with dashing away, still gets taken down. Now, BTK going to have to answer a Lord.
I mean, with them taking down a few members of Cloud9, it should be a very, maybe not too bad of an answer. I don't think best player wants to push it. He might try here. We'll see. Hoon isn't waiting for him. But I think at this point, we're kind of still at the stalemate.
Yeah, good thing Mobazane did not step into that bush because he was going to get the fracture of a lifetime.
Yeah, and you see another diversion comes out there. This time, BTK, Fly Chicken, does catch a little bit of damage, but no worse for wear. And I want to say this is the kind of... Oh, Mobazane!
Oh, look how much damage he just dished out. Able to take down best player, but need to be careful. Cloud9 trying to circle around, but BTK following up to keep Zane in the battle. Zia finding Nact co-world may be next. Not able to sustain himself, and Zia able to find the kill. 3 members down for Cloud9, and a chance for BTK to push.
From out of nowhere, 3 kills unanswered, starting with best player, moving into a bush. Mobazane finds the burst damage and quickly shuts his eyes on that.
You were talking about a fracture of a lifetime. Well, Zane had an enhanced chains of a lifetime right there. My guy responded. He heard you talking. He was ready for it. And BTK on the brink right now of bringing this to a game number 7. Shark still deathless, man. Has got plenty of defense to handle. Has the Athena shield. Looks like might even be going for an offensive item as his third here, just to really rub some salt in the wound.
Yeah, best player's been having a little bit of a hard performance, right? He's 1-4-2 on this Nolan, unlike Zane, 2-2-5. And I mean, he's just rotating around, getting these objectives and able to find the opportunity to even out the playing field. And not only just even it out, I mean, technically, BTK is pretty much in favor, especially taking down that tier 2 turret in the mid lane.
Yeah, and a firm, well, not a firm, but a decent gold lane. Like we've talked about before, BTK's shown how well that they can perform, even on the back foot, even when they're at a deficit. Having even just the littlest bit of gold in their favor means that they're starting to have a big positive upswing in these fights, in this game right now. And man, Cloud9 need to be careful. You cannot continually make some of those mistakes, because we were talking about the momentum that BTK has. They find one kill and they're able to kind of continue on with the snowball.
Yeah, I mean, and that momentum's definitely going to be tough to beat, right? Because as you said, they were behind in gold coming out on top of a fight. Now that they're ahead, does that mean these are definite wins for them? I think for Cloud9, they still, I mean, at this point, do they maybe go for more of the macro play? Maybe kind of get basic back in that off lane, send Cole World, kind of push BTK. I don't know if they can take BTK on just 5v5 right now. They need to play the map.
And, we were asking a question about the Guinevere and how effective it's been, and it's working really well for Shark, right? He has the spatial migration. He's given the vision every single second on these lore plays, and that's making the difference for BTK to be able to rush in with a lot of information and then also chaining it up. I mean, there's even times where you'll see Hoon. He sees the spatial migration go in. He knows he connects. He sees the Violet Requiem from Shark. He uses even a flicker to close the distance with the Frigid Glacier to chain that CC.
Right now, a lot of worry from both of these teams, being very careful. Each one of them, I say right now, especially Cloud9, on their side, they're waiting to catch somebody out. They need BTK to make a mistake, because I want to say the fear has been put into them, a little bit of PTSD from some of those last fights right now. BTK ahead, starting on the Lord.
Yeah, Basic's going to join this fight. He uses the diversion play as well, so he's not going to go for the split push.
But they do it. Whoa, wait a second, Shark.
Whoa! All the way downtown with that one. May have made a mistake, able to get back to the Lord pit, but BTK, they know their window of opportunity is short.
Oh!
Able to find best player. No retribution for Cloud9. Mobazane finding Nact. Next on the chopping block is Mark Cutie as Zia gets the double, and BTK takes the Lord.
I've been waiting for Zia to pop off. He finally does it.
Yeah, you were even talking about how far he was behind. He was going to be the 11 minute. It took 16 minutes, but he's there right now.
Only 16. It was only 16 minutes. All right, guys. Zia finally makes it. Lord, push it in, Wheezy.
Yeah, Lord pushing in toward the inhibitor in the mid lane, and BTK now gaining control of this game. Cloud9, a few mistakes may have costed them this game. They're going in. The window of opportunity is there. Lord marching to the base. Crystal. Zia taking an inhibitor. The knockup. Road immortality proc. Marquini finding chicken. Another turret will drop. You're going to see Nact like Shark saying find Nact. Trading blows back and forth, but Cloud9 has the number 2 with the flicker in. Trying to get a setup, trying to find a kill, but not going to find it. Only minions in the mid lane standing, and BTK forced to retreat.
Ooh, that game, they were really kind of dancing on that tightrope a little bit, lingering a little too long in BTK's... Oh, man.
Oh, almost caught the cat by its tail, but BTK able to go back to safety.
All right, I'm standing up now, guys. I'm out of my seat. I'm standing up. We're on the brink of a possible Game 7. It's about to go down. And as you were saying, I want to continue what you're saying, Private, because they were playing with death right there. The 3 of them hanging out next to that crystal.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I mean, they were able to kind of pull back a bit. They saw it a little bit smarter there. There was that bloodthirst in them. You could sense it. They really wanted to close it out, but a smarter and cooler heads prevailed. They have the lead. Why start making crazy plays now?
Oh, here's a crazy play though. Conceal called in. Shark not gonna connect with the spatial light. Oh my goodness! Able to get it. Marquini finding Shark. Zia finding Basic. Wait a second, that's going to be a 1-for-1 trade.
What?
Will they be able to get more? Cobra very low. Zia, 50% HP. Minions may be the difference here. BTK still pushing through. Best player very low. Chicken able to find it. And BTK takes the base crystal. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to a game number 7.
Boy, oh boy, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, even I lost a little hope from those first 3 games, but BTK came to deliver.
BTK letting the world know that if Cloud9 can win 3 games in a row, so can we. And now it's the fated best of 1. I got to give it up to Zia, man. I feel like I've been waiting all season for the Zia pop-off, and he finally delivered, even after I cursed him a few times, even after I said it's going to take a while. He took a while, but he got there.
All right, look, if we pull out statistics, right, the chance of BTK turning this around and going to a Game 7 was so unlikely. That is such a hard thing to be able to pull off, and you definitely got to give them credit where it's due. And not only that, this is officially the 3rd time we've seen the NACT go to a Game 7.
That just shows you the fortitude. It shows you the experience coming from BTK, not to be frazzled, not to be taken down, not to lose hope or confidence. They stayed stalwart. They stayed stone-faced in the face of a 3-game deficit. Now answering it back here, even with giving up the Phoveus there, even giving up the answer that we thought was in the Ruby, able to find a clapback.
Oh man, we're at a place right now that even though it is oh so familiar to us on the NA desk, it still feels fresh. It still feels impossible every time. And you mentioned statistics, Wheezy. I think BTK probably came into this with underdog statistics, right? They came into this maybe 40% win possibility, 30% win possibility, and then pushed all the way to match point. So the odds were just getting lower as it went, man, and they're still showing up. Man, and everyone on the team just played so cleanly on BTK. Cloud9, on the other hand, their approach to the game is changing, and I don't know if it's a good thing.
You want to know something crazy? This is a moment in history where the Cloud9 fans and the BTK fans, they put down the pitchforks, they put down the torches, and they sit down and grab some popcorn, and they enjoy the show, because that's what we're about to be seeing today. The 50-50 is on the way.
America.
That was my eagle, by the way, in case you guys didn't know. But you can take a look here right from the game here, man. They were still. I mean, you saw there. Even finding some of those diversions there, even being able to find Zia on there, it took some time for this to come online, but BTK stayed stone-faced. Like I said, they were able to kind of force a lot of these fights there. They forced it underneath the tower, and then when you got to the point where they were able to get the lead, where they were in the lead to be able to find some of these turtle fights, these objective fights in their favor.
Man, just taking a look at these replays, man, it's like, do we even talk about it? Do we even really focus on this? But we have to, because for a bit there, we could see it was C9 in the lead, and there was fights like this where they would get dragged out, and it looked messy. But they were always able to trade up, and I think that was the big turning point right there. We saw some insane burst damage. We saw the enhanced chains come out, best player off the map, more members of C9 falling, and this is when the gold lead finally shifted over to BTK.
It's the inner bloodthirst they're channeling right there to be able to make it work in their favor, because yeah, I mean, there was a lot of time in that match where Cloud9 was the one who was looking like the favorite in terms of the odds working in their favor, but BTK, they have the comeback potential, right? We know they have the grand finals buff, and right now they're buffed out.
Really buffed out. I mean, it's even that last play there, the very last play when Shark, I thought it was bad, like the duality procs, and he's not able to get his jump to get the Violent Requiem. And he's got 1 health, and he's like, all right, one more try. Let's do this again. Still gets the double knockup, man. I mean, that is the relentlessness of BTK. And I think if there's a way that I could just coin that team in one word, it's relentless, man. It is just that inability to give up, right? And that's what they bring to the table every year.
The one thing that kind of is on my mind is you may have faced a BTK in the season, you may have faced a BTK in the playoffs, but you have yet to face a BTK in the grand finals, which is, for almost all intents and purposes, is a completely different team on a different level right now. And we're going to see if Cloud9 can stack up to that. It's do or die time. We've been saying that the entire cast, but this is it. There's one game left. This is where all the marbles count. This is what it is all for.
It's make it or break it. We're at the top of the ladder, top of the mountain. You can't get any higher than this, and what better way to bring it than a game number 7 between BTK and Cloud9? I mean, we've seen it once, we've seen it twice, but hey, a third time, that's almost impossible. Literally like getting struck by lightning 3 times in a row, and that's just the luck that we've been having so far in NACT, and I love to see it. And also, you know what's crazy? Every time we're on a 3 panel with us 3, this always happens.
Yeah, it's the curse, it's the blessing, it's whatever you want to call it. It's the nobody's gonna sleep tonight, whether you're in NA or overseas. You've been up for a while watching this, but I think it's paid off, right? I think it's definitely paid off. I got a question for you too, though, right? If BTK came into this series as the underdogs at 30, whatever percentage you gave him, do we think it's 50-50 now? Is Cloud9 still the favorite, or is BTK even the playing field?
There is no way that anybody thinks that this is not a 50-50 right now. We've talked about it, and I know it kind of sometimes comes down to superstition and things like that, but the fact that you've said it before, that BTK has that dog in them. Zane has that dog in them. This is where that actually comes to fruition, is when you're at like your absolute worst, where like there's like you were looking at a sweep against BTK. Cloud9 had those 3 games here right now. This is where the men are made when it comes to these games, when it comes to keeping that focus and making sure that you continue on, not looking forward into all the next games, but just the game that's right in front of you. And BTK have shown how well that they can do that.
Yeah, that exact point, right? Don't focus on, we got to win 3 in a row. We just got to win this game, right? Just focus on this one, we win it, let's go on the next one. And that seems that was the game plan for BTK, and now, hey, here we are, game number 7.
Private, I think you got something for us.
Gentlemen, we are going to be moving on to the final game here. It is game 7. If you have lost faith in it, here it is. If you had plans Sunday night, I'm sorry. You're talking about North America here, the NACT. We have the best of the best, both so evenly matched here. But we're going to jump right into the final draft.
It's the final countdown, the final stretch between both of top teams in North America, Cloud9 and BTK. Okay, the draft is in. Phobius is still available. Cloud9 is first pick. Do they go for that, or do they actually ban the Moskov here? And we talked about the Moskov being a threat.
I was gonna say they finally had to switch up bans on C9. They had to throw something else in those 3 bans, man. The Moskov taken out. Respect to Zia. Julian picked up, and I feel like we've been talking about BTK all night long. C9, what do they do?
Man, so you have the Julian picked up here. I'm saying the priority for me here is Aurora, possibly Ruby, maybe Phobius. They've let Phobius go out there. I'm thinking that maybe BTK, they don't really feel like it is an issue for them, but they're going to pick up Zuxin.
Not question BTK anymore. We don't question BTK anymore. They've come back 3 games. This Yusion's good. Anything's good.
We just got to let that draft roll no matter what it is, all right? But, I mean, maybe if he pulls out the fan, and then I'll be like, okay, this is insane. That's the only thing that would surprise me right here for BTK is if that happened. But you are going to see the Zuxin pulled out over there from Hoon, and that's going to be a very big threat. They pick up the Julian. This is a textbook play, right? Hey, we can't ban out everything, but technically if you pick up the Julian, it's the same as banning it out from Zane being able to pick that, which is going to force him in an awkward position. That's 3 technical plays that Mobile Zane can't go. He can't go for the Alpha, he can't go for the Suyo, and he can't go in for that Julian.
Yes, I mean, at this point, I think Phobius could definitely be a solid pick here. They can always jump back to the Akai, right? They can always just go to something like that. Ban out the Valentina in your second phase. Stop Mark Cutie from having that counter possibility. There are still plenty of answers for the side of BTK, at least from what we saw. But the Julian, the Ruby, and Basic on this Claude definitely looks fearsome, right? It is definitely comfort for the side of them, and it pulls away a lot of comfort for BTK.
And then we had talked about how strong some of these picks were. A lot of like what has been a factor in some of the last BTK victories has been taken off the board. Moskov out, Aurora out. Now they weren't picked up by the side of Cloud9, but they were banned out by both sides here. The Ruby now on the side of Cloud9. Wanwan, I mean, I want to say it's Zia's comfort pick. We didn't see a huge showing from it in the last few games when he was on it last. But I have to wonder. I mean, I'm glad that we're not prioritizing Zane here. That was one of the biggest things I was worried about when it comes to this draft. Is his pool, is our thought process that we need to get Zane on something he favors early, or can we let that slide and get some other priorities on the rest of the team? And it looks like that's where they're going here. They're allowing the rest of the team to get comfortable, then allow Zane to get on whatever he needs to. And he's shown that he can be flexible with some of these. It doesn't exactly have to rely on just those 4 or 3 picks that we thought.
I think you're right on the money with that, right? I mean, I think Cloud9 gave up on the plan to ban out Zane, especially because, I mean, he has the Akai still available. So they're not going to ban that one out. I think they're just going to take that risk. Now, the Valentina is still on the table. So it could be picked up from the side of Cloud9. So if we do see that Akai slip through here, that still can work in Cloud9's favor. Then maybe wants something that BTK wants to ban out for their final ban before closing out that phase of the draft. But you know, the Cho, first pickup on the board. I mean, it's interesting, right? Cho's been very effective. Is he first pick worthy? We'll see. But he can be flexed into that XP lane or roam position, and we've seen Chicken actually run the Cho this series, nonetheless. And he did a pretty decent job on it.
I gotta say, those last 2 bans that just came in were so they were poetic for me. You get the Phobius ban, and C9 immediately knows, oh, then you want the R lot. Well, we're getting rid of that, Chicken. Nope, not today. But the thing about BTK is they do have this Cho locked in, right? Same thing, Ruby on the side of C9. Both teams still have options to give their EXP laners something if they want to swap out. But I just like the way I feel like we've gotten to a place in Game 7 where there's so much respect going to different members of the team. It is not one-man focused. We have a real game going on right now. BTK, next pick, is going to show. I got a feeling, didn't think it was going to be that, but the God of Kacha comes in.
Yeah, I was about to kind of comment if we're going to have a little bit early game to kind of match out Julian, who doesn't need that ultimate, right after level 3. He's going to start coming online. He's going to be that progressive powerhouse for them. They're going to need something to be able to combat that. And they already have the Cho out there, which we've already seen has been... I want to say Cho has kind of snuck in the last few weeks as one of these really huge and strategic markups for any team that has it there. There's what he can provide for the team, the vision, getting in there and out with the Jeet Kune Do and being able to kind of bait out a lot of these abilities.
Yo, there it goes. The Paquito back in
Pac-Man.
action again. Pac-Man is back in the land of Dawn. But something interesting also with the draft is Cold World, right? He picked up this Rafaela. I mean, it's not the worst option. Now they have sustainability in their kit. You already have a marksman who can play for the survivability aspect with the BMI. And you also have Nact to make up the difference with the crowd control on top of best player with some crowd control of his own for the side of C9. But for BTK, I mean, the draft is looking strong, a lot stronger than the first 2 games we got to see them run. And right now, I think both sides have equal footing, the 50-50 on the way.
I mean, even with the Paquito last time, it was actually a decent game for BTK in the early and mid. It was just that big collapse. Once the Hayabusa got online, once Basic got online, that's when the problems started to occur for BTK. So I'm not counting this Paquito out at all. The CC is there for the team, but Cloud9 has a very clean draft as well.
It's the final countdown. Do-do-do-do. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the final game. Game 7. Cloud9 taking on BTK. It's all or nothing.
Hit a chance at a reverse sweep. Who would have thought it? The BTK has been able to push on forward. Hoon meditating, laying on the couch. He knew the entire time. And right now, both sides at equal footing. A chance to claim that crown for North America.
All right, so do you think if BTK wins, Hoon will get up? Do we think he will get up if BTK wins? Or will he'll just close his eyes and go to sleep at that point? He's like, all right, it's finally time to rest. Coming into this game, though, looking at the drafts, I mean, I'm wondering, it already looks like it's getting pretty aggressive early on, and it does look like Shark is going to take the Gatad and fried chicken with that Cho and the XP.
Yeah, and Shark, we do have a little bit of a CC going on to Mark Cutie. He's going to dash himself to safety.
Yeah, going to go back to safety. I mean, there's a lot of sustainability for the Bloodthirsty Kings. And yeah, you are right on the money with Shark, right? He ran this Gatot in the roam position. And again, we're going to see Chicken on this Cho. He's going to be paired up against Nass on the Ruby.
Yeah, Basic doing a good job at freezing lane up there, trying to keep it on his side. Bazia not falling for the tricks. I'm wondering, I feel like mid is going to be so crucial in this game. Shark and Hoon, Mark Cutie, Cole World. It's been the matchup of the season. And honestly, both of them, it finally feels like BTK, their mid is rotating very well. Cloud9 as well. Cole World on this raft. We know how fast he moves around. We know his plan with this hero.
Man, and doing such a good job of kind of reading some of these. I know in the last game that Mobazane played Paquito, I was kind of wondering about some of these kills that Mobazane was kind of trying to initiate. He didn't get the kill. They were mostly assists. Ooh, we're going to go ahead and start a fight here.
Yeah, G-Kondo from Chicken may be the opportunity, but both sides fight it out. The Lantern dropping down, and Zane able to get the retribution for the Bloodthirsty Kings. Hoon will punish best player. Marquita responds back, finding Hoon. That'll be a 1-for-1 trade and a turtle over to the Bloodthirsty Kings.
That is a good trade for BTK right there. You get a little bit of gold, and the most important thing is you get the kill on the best player.
Yeah, and that's already going to go. You know that's the frustration's going to start setting in. They have really kind of honed in onto best player, and this is what I was kind of waiting to see from them too, especially with the focus that Cloud9 put in on the early stages of this series against Mobazane, being able to find him, being able to isolate him. Here, they're really kind of honing in down onto best player, especially because he has such a good early game spike when it comes to that Julian. You shut him down in the early game, there's not going to be much that hopefully he can do toward the mid and late game.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, speaking of these pickups, right, we know the Lantern can be very aggressive in the early phase. It can pretty much zone out an entire team, but Mark Cutie, he has this Valentino. We got to look at what ultimate he's going to use. Does he go in for the Way of the Dragon? Does he go for the AOG? Or does he go in for that Crimson Beacon, right, to be able to have that AoE damage to pretty much zone out the side of BTK?
Yeah, I think Cloud9 here, You know, I think they just need to take this, not be scared to take this game slow, not be scared to let this play into the, you know, maybe even the 15-minute mark. I feel like we've seen it time and time again that Cloud9 plays very comfortably when there's a bunch of towers down on the map, plays very comfortably when, you know, there's plenty of space to move around and everyone's got a lot of items. I really feel like Cloud9 needs to look for that type of position in this final game.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about where they shine, especially when it comes to macro, when it comes to the synergy. They've been able to really kind of slam down onto BTK. These last few matches, I've seen that same macro, that same synergy start to show its cracks, to the little bit of the frustration starting to show through here. Ooh, we have Mark Cutie with a possible flank.
Yeah, they're going to look for the trade. They're going to go in for the side lane instead of the turtle play. A smart decision. Zia will be punished right there. Shark with the AOG a little late to the party. And you will see Zia pay the ultimate price. But on the turtle, BTK looking to possibly get this trade. And it looks like they may be able to get it zoning out Nats on top of that.
I mean, BDA it's turtle, but honestly, I like gold. I like getting the gold laner. I like getting the gold plating. I feel like Cloud9, that's a big win for them.
Well, yeah, and then they're doing exactly what they should have been, what we were kind of critiquing from BTK, where they just let turtles go for no reason. There was no answer. There was no reply. Here, Cloud9, they know that they don't have the advantage at the turtle fight, so they're going to go ahead, put that pressure onto the gold lane, get that gold plating, start to get Basic fed so that he can start being the nuisance he needs to be by mid-game.
Yeah, right now, I mean, BTK, 2 turtles on their side, and when it comes to those win conditions, I mean, they thrive. Their chance of winning goes way higher, especially when they're able to take these turtles to have the slightest advantage. But I'm right there with you. With Zia falling on the top side, it could be a little questionable for the damage she's going to be able to dish out in these engagements. And you can already tell Cloud9, they're willing to give up these turtles because they go for the pickoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost more than questionable, right? Because we saw last time Zia was on the 1-1, even after getting 3 items in, the damage wasn't quite there. I mean, yes, there was some threat, but it was tough. But this early on, taking a death, falling 500 gold behind Basic, could spell trouble. So I think at this point, BTK, maybe look for a gank of your own up in that top side. Look for some pressure to slow Basic down.
And here, a little bit of CC on the Mark. Cutie just narrowly avoids the pull coming in from Hoon. Now starting to kind of readjust around the map. A lot of pressure here. Like I said, they've really kind of honed in on Zia now because of that last game. He was able to, even at the 16-minute, you waited for Zia to come online. Still became an issue for the side of Cloud9. Here, they're not going to be taking those and making those same mistakes.
Ooh, there goes the BMI and the Blazing Duet back to safety. Crossbow Tang, he found the weakness points in a matter of seconds, so both sides will trade equal damage.
More of a defensive crossbow Tang at that point. The damage still not quite there, but he does survive the gank. On the mid side, watch Hoon and Shark, man. They are moving. They're stinging all over the place, and that's a lot of times is one of the problems that I see with BTK currently. Hoon kind of hangs out a bit too much in the mid, but lately, these past couple games that they've been winning, he's been getting very involved.
Yeah, and they're going to go ahead, start things up. Another turtle that just is unable to be contested by Cloud9. This time, not much of a response coming from them.
I mean, and if they don't find a trade for a pickoff, then BTK is going to start scaling, and that could be the difference that Zia needs, especially falling that early. I mean, there already goes the DHS in his favor.
So, I mean, at this point, gold not really escaping BTK. I think Cloud9's job, again, they can still just take things slow, keep their lead, try to get a couple pickoffs. I think keep on focusing onto the gold lane, get those ganks whenever they can. And outside of that, I like their late game, man. They've got the Rafaela, who's going to heal more and more. They have this Claude, who's going to be moving more and more, outputting more and more damage. I do feel like they're in a comfy position right now.
Yeah, and especially because when we saw that was the Rafaela was kind of the answer to the crossbow of Tang when it came in through the late game. Even the damage coming out, there's just so much healing. And then you have the Flask of the Oasis on top of that, adding shield every single time the healing comes out there. Ooh, we have a little bit of a surrounding here for Basic.
Yeah, we were saying they needed to respond back, right? Need to find an opportunity to shut down the gold laner of Cloud9, but Basic not going to go out without a fight. A great Blazing Duet to be able to stop BTK on the push.
Not only does he get away, but he scares them away while doing it. But a nice hook.
Ooh.
More damage.
Able to
Top
connect
side.
a little bit more damage. Oh my goodness, a double decondo AOD with the follow-up and the crossbow tang. The finesse on the way. Basic will fall, but Zia may be punished. Best player able to shut him down. Shark needing to get back to safety. Hit with the I'm offended. Zane with the heavy light punch takes down Cold World. Best player gets the double. Finding Shark. Now 3-1 on the top side. Now 2-3 on the top side. And Zane and Hoon left to defend.
Yeah, and with that, you're going to be looking at a 2 down for BTK. They're going to go ahead and start looking for some positioning around this Lord. A little bit of an advantage to them now, about a 1K gold lead. They were able to answer back. This is the one thing that we've been talking about. You need to be prepared for the answer back from Cloud9. There, no matter when you get the kill, no matter what kind of pickup you have, you need to be prepared for that response that comes out from Cloud9 because they're not going to let it go silently.
At this point, both teams definitely know what's on the line, right? Neither team letting anything go silently, not even a tower. I don't think we've been 10 minutes in where a single tower hasn't been taken. Hoon able to get out of that one. Still a little bit of a vie for the first Lord, but keep our eyes on Basic up in the top side. The question still rises, is this a good or bad thing?
Yeah, you can definitely tell a lot of nerves for both sides, not wanting to be too aggressive, not wanting to be the one to create the mistake that can ultimately cost them this series. You are seeing the Lord at about 45% HP. Chicken, a great engagement on the Nas with the way the Dragon set up. AOG from Marcuti dropping down. Will connect on the Shark. Chicken will fall. Marcuti will be the one to find him. One member down for the Bloodthirsty Kings, but they're still going to push in for this objective. Best player a little bit quicker at the Retribution, able to get it. 4C9 finds a kill on Zane and Zia. 3 members down for BTK. Make that 4 as Cold World will find Shark.
Man, we were talking about the pressure, and it's starting to pay dividends now. Basic able to come in with the Blazing Duet, the amount of damage he's able to release onto BTK, allowing Best Player to come in to do the cleanup job, and just like that, 4 members of BTK fall.
Yeah, that is going to be devastating at this point. I mean, it is, Mobazane goes down, everyone takes a shot to the face there, and C9... they feel it. They have the momentum. They're going to start trying to make moves around the map. Look at everyone in a different lane.
Yeah, you do see the way the Dragon set up too from Chicken. Now forced to go back to safety as the Lord marching in on the top side. The knockup from the enhanced chains. A great setup. But can they follow through? Zia able to find Nats. A quick punish. Nats very low. Shark will fall. Cold World able to take him down. That is going to be a 1-for-1 trade for both sides.
Oh man, and just like that, a 7K gold lead for the side of Cloud9, down to high grounds of BTK.
At this point, can they defend? Zia still dancing, still trying to make something work. Cloud9, I mean, I think as long as they play this safe, they're in complete control, and I think it's been the game plan from the beginning, right? Just play smooth, don't overextend, get our gold leads where we can, control the map.
And just look at the difference of what 1 minute can make as well, right? 1 minute ago, BTK had all their turrets. Now they're down to an inhibitor on the bot side, and Cloud9 having a lot of insurance to work in their favor. That just shows you how one little mistake can be the difference.
Well, and especially for teams like this who are just so well synergized, who have such a grasp on the macro and what they need to do and where they need to push, especially with the benefit of a Lord coming out. It's just, you cannot give up. You've talked about it before. You can't give up an inch because these guys are going to take a mile for it. Here, right now, 12-minute mark, a BTK on the back foot with a 7K gold deficit.
And look at this defense that Cloud9 has over the river. Look at the defense that they have. I mean, just this line of members, and they're getting back to that angled style play that Cloud9 does so well, especially in a game when your enemy has no towers. Best player going up to the top side. And at this point, they just wait. So the question is, like, how does BTK break through this, right? Either Wide Chicken gets the big kick, gets the pickoff, or Shark gets the big AOG. But I think it's definitely, they have to find at least one member to kind of crack through the armor.
Right, I mean, it was just that one engagement that really opened up the map for Cloud9. I still think BTK can take the fight, when it comes to the 5v5, but they're definitely going to have to be more careful on positioning, because if they fumble that opportunity again, Cloud9 are going to look for the early finish.
When you see right here, Fly Chicken dancing around Cold World here. I'm not even sure if he knows if he's in that bush, if he's cleared it just yet. Cold World very patient right now.
I don't think I don't think Fly Chicken knows he's there at all. And Cold World, just like the patience is a virtue at this point. Hanging out, no vision, and there's the Cold World basic combo at the bottom lane once again.
Yeah, the split push in effect to be able to have the wave management. And now both sides find it out. Airborne knockup. Zane able to find Nats. That's huge for the Bloodthirsty Kings, but they need to get back to safety. Look at the lantern placement. Basic with the side play of the Blazing Duet to the full team. Best player finding Shark. That is going to be a 1-for-1 trade in the mid lane. Crossbow tank activated with the Winter Crown to buy some time. Hoon will find Cold World. Basic goes back to safety to BMI. Mark Cutie finding Zia. They don't have the ADC. Zane takes down best player. No retribution for Cloud9.
3-for-2 trade over to BTK, feeling good. I mean, they're starting to trade blows. BTK finally starting to being willing to take these fights and handling them well. Cloud9 as well, though. Mark Cutie helped to save that position by getting rid of Zia.
Yeah, I mean, and Zia's become a huge issue for the side of Cloud9. Even at 1-4 right now, 14 minutes. He's still got 2 more minutes before he hits that Zia power spike that we know him from the last game here. So still some wiggle room for BTK, but man, just right now, already kind of limiting it down to a 3K gold lead for the side of Cloud9. BTK just is still in it, but
Zane, a little bit of a miscalculated play, now working in his favor, finding Basic, able to sustain himself, and whom will find Cold World? Did he just turn this around? The bait working in Zane's favor. Now Zia will shut down Mark Cutie. Only Nats and best player left to defend, and the Lord will go over to the Bloodthirsty Kings.
We're talking one punch, one hit, a millisecond, one moment for Mova Zane to take out Basic and completely put this game into their hands.
And just like that, turned it around with one hit. Takes down Basic. 3 down for the side of Cloud9. BTK have, at least a short answer just now and a 2K gold lead in their favor.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of turrets to go through. Even though they were able to get that objective, they still got to do a little bit more work to get to that base crystal. But effectively, that is a massive victory in terms of objectives, right? It's going to keep them on the playing field and force Cloud9 to be on the defense. But as the Lord marches in on the bot side, BTK will look for a possible punish, but they're going to go and try and burst down this Lord.
But I'm standing, I'm pacing in front of the monitor right now. Anything could happen. I think Cloud9 needs to do what they've been doing. Take it slow, right? They can't rush this. I think when they overextend themselves, when they go for these big plays, that's when the mistakes start to come in. They cannot underestimate BTK at this point. I think they really just need to let BTK come to them, and there it is.
Yeah, the initiation on the way. Zane able to find best player.
Oh!
Be able to get another. Zia finding Nats. That's 2 down for Cloud9. Blazes went into the heart of the battle. Shark falling for the Bloodthirsty Kings, but not going to stop BTK on the push. Minions in the mid lane. AOG Chicken finding Mark Cutie. Moments away with one final strike. Cloud9 will be shut down by the Bloodthirsty Kings. The thread of fate has been severed, and they reclaim the crown as North America's champions.
The whispers laid to rest. The doubts laid to rest. Cloud9 laid to rest as BTK reign victorious.
We said 4 games in a row would be hard. Every year, they do the impossible. The odds are stacked against them. But Mova Zane with the pop-off. BTK with the pop-off right now. NA North America. I cannot right now. I'm speechless.
I think Zane just got the clip of a lifetime. I mean, the man just ran straight up. Bro, he got to that camera faster than BTK got to that base crystal.
Man, and he was ready. Did you see that room explode? Was Hoon still laying down, though? Did he even get up there?
He stood up. He stood up.
Hey, he's standing on business.
Standing on business for sure. BTK, man. I mean, that's two-time reigning champions back to back right now. They're going to M6 for the redemption of North America.
Man, what a series from both of these teams. 4 games, 3 games down. You can see here, I mean, man, this one was a nail biter. What a last game for this series as well.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I've seen Zane pull off the impossible. We've seen BTK do the unthinkable. We have never seen a team in a grand finals come back from a 3-0 deficit, and they have done it. The possibilities are endless when it comes to the comeback kings, BTK.
I think it all just, I mean, even this game itself, it just speaks to that point of relentless. The unforgivingness of BTK, man. Even this game, they were behind. All of their towers down. Under the crystal, just looking for a moment, a thread, a rope, anything. And even here, I mean, this is one of the moments where they finally start to get a little bit of space. The pop-off starts to happen. And finally, they find that moment and take it.
Yeah, I mean, an amazing match coming from them. They were behind. You have it exactly right. And this was the point of turnaround here. Mobazane out of nowhere cleans basics clock, turns it around, survives, and then his team is able to get the Lord and turns this completely around. No towers. They had the threat of the Rafaela and basic that we had seen before win the game for them. And here, I mean, BTK, what more can you say about this team?
Yeah, definitely some top tier gameplay at its finest. The Bloodthirsty Kings yet to disappoint, and I'm sure the BTK fans are out there going wild. I mean, we were going wild. Trex is standing up, pacing back and forth. Me and Private at the edge of our seats wondering which way it's going to go and who could have asked for a better ending all the way to a Game 7. And it's not just us over here, right? We got to see how Liz feels about the grand finals.
I'm just fixing my hair for the last minute, but oh my god. I think all the viewers share what we feel at this moment. We had our doubts at the very beginning. I mean, I kind of rooted for BTK the whole season, but still, before tonight, everyone was like, oh, we can't support the team we want to support, but, you know, at the end of the day, we felt like Cloud9 was coming in stronger. But that 4th game, starting from that 4th game, what happened, guys? They just powered through. They knows what makes a great show. And it seems like BTK just wants to give us that great show.
Haters will say it's scripted, but man, it's just North America and the shows that our teams can put on and that never die attitude. Man, just that single play is gonna probably be clipped 1,000 times. Is basic going in. He had so much success with the Blazing Duet every single time before that. This time, bites off just a little bit more than he can chew, and Mobazane like turned it around on him, and then after that it was all BTK all the way down to the core.
Man, I'm speechless. I mean, honestly, like we said, statistically the chances of this happening was very slim, and to be able to see it right before your eyes is hard to put in words. And I enjoyed every single second of it. I hope you guys out there in the audience did as well, as it was an amazing series, right? All the way to a game number 7, again, 3 times in a row, and BTK, the reigning champs, able to hold